super dimensional strategy starting with Batman. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Article chapter Linger Iron Man. This is a bad thing as I do. In the audience view, this Raiders are kind of funny point after all. Almost before everyone about what the Raiders are related to human survival event point, otherwise there is doom, monsters invade, or is an alien invasion. The world is about to destroy a class. Little trivia about this life points. Do not blame the Raiders said. Spider-Man is a British super close to the people. Male point next to continue. Definitely. Spider-Man troubles besides Aunt May, from his side of the small partners and students. Screen. Switching point Ned and Spider-Man along the road. Snider said. So you are bitten by a spider, look into this. Spider-Man. Nodded point Ned said. I also want it to bite me. Spider-Man said. It's dead. I was shot dead. At this point, they have to see the front of the police cordon fenced. They're blown pulpy. It is Spider-Man last night who beat local robber. Ned was scared. He said. This is where you beat the robbers yesterday. Too dangerous. You might be dead. Apparently. He began to doubt himself not to be a spider bite point. Spider-Man, according to her lips, did not speak. This time, he also fearful. Then Ned said, then you will spawn yet. Spider-Man is ignorant. Directly engage in this turning point. What are you talking? Definitely not. Then rapid handover start screen. Ned question presence a soul. You can spit venom. It can not. You can call it a spider legion. No. Ned, you can launch the cobweb. How far? I do not know. Shut up. Spider-Man in front of the screen has already begun, including the face, and this fat man cannot fly a little bit. The audience smiled point after all. They just did not see the LUOG is located, and that makes a world of despair. Look at these intimate daily. They feel a lot easier. The screen switches again point. Spider-Man is physical education point. The teacher is playing a video. The United States captain of the above. It is recommended students good exercise point. Then the teacher off the video and said, although he is a war criminal, but I still have to play this video. This is a provision of school. The United States captain almost a blood discharge point. When did I become a war criminal? Next Spider-Man start doing sit-ups. Ned holding down his feet. Mouth still did not stop point. Avenger need to pay tax. It have no idea. Hulk. Smell. What is that smell? He must have very good news. Shut up, Ned. The United States captain cool. Or is a harsh old man. Ryder, can you shut up? Spider-Man has been silent point. The United States captain and Hulk have begun to include his face point. How the child's thinking. So escape point at this time. The next few girls chatting point. A girl said, I want to Thor shame married to Iron Man, Hulk and then kill this. Look, even Thor and Iron Man have joined the ranks of the culture of the face point. These kid actor children exactly what they thought. In particular Thor. These words be reached Asgard. Put my face toward that. Loki laughed out more directly. See, Thor, muscular body that you will only absorb this brainless little girl. Hulk is silent. And you want to Thor shame. Wanted to marry Iron Man. Then why did you kill me? How do I trick you mess with you? Another girl asked. What about Spider-Man? One voice said, Spider-Man is just a nobody. At this time, the girl named Liz who was sitting in the middle said, I saw it on the video. He beat out 4 robbers. He is a hero. The blonde girl who spoke first said, oh my god, you like Spider-Man? It's disgusting. No one has seen what he looks like. Maybe he's 30 years old point. At this moment, Ned's mind became hot, and he rushed up and said, Parker knows Spider-Man point. Then another boy walked over and said, yes, Parker knows Spider-Man, and I'm dating Black Widow. This time even Black Widow couldn't help coughing point. How come these little brats don't have a door on their mouths? Get a beating sooner or later. Professor X stared blankly at all of this and said, is this the power of idolization? Obviously, to ordinary people, you are similar to mutants, but they do not reject you. They like to pay you back. At this time, he finally felt that mutant was idolized, or really a good strategy point. Or, we can actually do it. Drive. Banner said dejectedly. Is that called liking? These little brats still want to kill me. Why? Uncomfortable. At this time, the narration sounded again. On weekdays, Parker has such strange troubles because of his identity as Spider-Man, but these are not big things. The first enemy he has to face, Vulture, is what troubles him the most, because Vulture was the father of the girl named Liz he liked. The screen switches again. New York City is a mess, full of Chitauri corpses and the remains of their fallen flight machines. A group of workers is picking up the pieces at this time. A white-haired woman came over and said, according to Executive Order number 3968, all post-war cleanup work is under our jurisdiction. 4. Flowers. Thank you for your service. Leave it to us here. The foreman who took the lead, named Toombs, said, I signed an agreement with the municipal FU to clean up these rubble. So the white-haired woman who took the lead said, but now we will take over the cleanup. Please hand over all the extraterrestrial objects you have collected, or I will sue you. Toombs' face changed. He chased up to the woman and said cautiously, even a little pleadingly, ma'am, this is the case. I bought these trucks specially for this cleanup work, and I also hired so many people. All my belongings are on this contract. If I lose this job, I will lose my house. I have a family to support. The woman said coldly, sorry, sir, I can't do anything. The narration sounded, Toombs lost his job, owed a huge amount of loans, and in order to support his family and pay for the goods, he decided to take risks. He started collecting surreptitiously wrecked aliens, then converting them into weapons and selling them to those who needed them. The previous joyous atmosphere disappeared in an instant. The United States captain couldn't help shaking his head and said, damn, if you don't agree, you shouldn't let people sign this contract. Now that you have broken the contract, shouldn't you show any sign? In his view, Toombs was only driven by a corner to take this path. Those municipal FU personnel should be held responsible for this matter. Iron Man indignantly said, it only takes one simple thing to turn a man who works hard for his family into a criminal. Damn, these politicians are simply incompetent. And the next moment he was beaten in the face. On the screen. One man said to Toombs, the next time you're going to do something like this, you should be a little more self-aware. Toombs punched him angrily. The surrounding people immediately pointed their guns at him. Put down the gun. The white-haired woman said to Toombs, if you have any complaints, you can complain to my superiors. Toombs had to say, who is your superior? The screen switches again. The news is running. A disaster loss control center, jointly formed by the Stark Group and the FU department, is responsible for all alien remnants and incidents. Iron Man in front of the screen instantly turned pale. I did it. I made this man a criminal. Damn it. How could it be like this? 7 Chapter 203. You are a good neighbor of the people of New York. Looking at the eyes of others looking at him, Iron Man was extremely depressed. He raised his hand and said, okay, this is my fault again. If there is such a situation in the future, I will deal with it more gently. He is really depressed. In the future, I wanted to build an artificial intelligence to help protect the world, but I ended up with an Ultron. He had the wreckage of his Chitauri cleaned up so that alien technology would not be a disaster, and he turned a person into a vulture. I obviously want to do a good thing. Why does it always turn into a bad thing? Where is the problem? The audience shook their heads. They all sympathized with what happened to Toombs. But the thought of him converting the remains of these alien spaceships into weapons and selling them to those in need. What are people in need? Isn't it the criminals, the terrorists? His 127 became angry in their hearts. How many casualties would these weapons cause to ordinary people? At this time, Harley said, Chitauri's technology is too advanced for the people of the Earth. If it is handed over to ordinary people, there will indeed be unimaginable disasters. What? Iron Man did was understandable, just a little too tough. Not thinking about someone like Toombs. At the end of the day, you didn't think about the impact on ordinary people. You ignored these workers. Iron Man raised his hand in a gesture of surrender and said, Holly, I know. If this happens in the future, I will try to be more thoughtful. Screen Switching point Washington Memorial Hall. I saw Ned carrying a backpack and his classmates sitting in the elevator. Suddenly Ned's backpack emitted a blue light, and the blue light directly moved through the elevator, and even penetrated directly through the wall of the Memorial Hall. Point and Spider-Man has just arrived. Karen, what happened? A mechanical female voice sounded. The Kitteru core was activated, causing several structural damage to the elevator structure. Then Spider-Man flew to the memorial with great effort. Point before the elevator fell, I directly connected the elevator with Cobweb and finally rescued the trapped classmates. When the female classmate Liz was about to fall, he even stuck his feet on Cobweb and pulled the girl up. Point everyone was stunned. Even Batman was shocked. You said you were only 15 years old or 14 years old. Never mind. The cobweb is extremely viscous and surprisingly strong, almost comparable to nanomaterials. And your feet. You can actually exert force with this posture, whether it's intelligence or strength, or physical coordination and agility. Spider-Man amazes Batman. Point this kind of physical fitness is too outrageous, especially Spider-Man's agility, which makes his movements incredibly pleasing to the eye. That's not seen in Superman and Wonder Woman. Point they are just powerful and fast. Point then the screen switches again. Point came on a cruise ship. Point the people in Thames below are negotiating alien weapons with some gang members. Spider-Man directly arrested the two groups of people, and even the federal controller appeared. But fortunately there was Spider-Man, otherwise they would be cold. Point and that's when Vulture came along. Point he has a mounted flight device on him. Like Vulture's wings, an ordinary worker actually remodeled the wreckage of the alien into this, and I have to say that Toomes is actually a genius. Then the two started fighting. Point Toomes escaped, and the weapon left here directly cut the ship in half. Point Spider-Man was terrified, but he did his best. Point he desperately used his cobweb to glue the two halves of the ship together so that it wouldn't fall to the sea in one fell swoop. Point it's a pity that his cobweb is not viscous enough in this case, and it is directly taken off. Point even so, it doesn't break. Its strength is really outrageous. In the end Spider-Man shot two bead threads and pulled the two halves of the ship with his own hands to prevent them from falling. Point the Captain of the United States was dumbfounded. Boy, how strong are you? Although I thought this kid's strength was outrageous before. Point now it seems stronger than I thought. Point it's really impossible to change yourself. The power of your own super soldier is not as strong as someone else being bitten by a spider. Seeing that the sea has been poured into the ship. Point Spider-Man suddenly felt less pressure. It turned out that Iron Man had arrived. He pushed the two halves of the ship together again, barely welded them with laser light, and put the freighter together. Spider-Man was very angry and said to Iron Man, "Those people are selling these dangerous weapons. I told you, but you don't listen." Point Iron Man came out of the armor and said, "I definitely listened. Who do you think the agents called? Do you know that I'm the only one who trusts you, and everyone thinks I'm crazy to admit a 14-year-old kid." Spider-Man said, "I'm 15." Iron Man couldn't stand his broken mouth. "Lord, don't interrupt, child. What if someone dies tonight? That's your fault. If you die, I'll feel that it's my fault, and I don't want to carry this debt of conscience." Seeing this, Black Widow finally couldn't help saying, "Tony, have you noticed that the way you talk to him seems to be talking to your own son?" Both Iron Man and Spider-Man were taken aback. There seems to be a point. This strange feeling is really indescribable. It's embarrassing. Black Widow continued, "It's true that Parker is still young and reckless, but you arm him, upgrade his battlesuit. Don't you know he's going to do something like this? Aren't you the same reckless? You're angry, just worried about him being 0.7. As expected of the eldest daughter of Avengers, she was comforted at once. Two file-size boys at this time. The narration sounded, "XIU is not an enemy that is too difficult to deal with. The hardest part about Spider-Man is because he's Liz's father, so the strategy for targeting Vulture is to not let him become Vulture. If it wasn't for the business being robbed and leading to bankruptcy, he would not have gone down this road. Spider-Man, use your ability to help your neighbors, those workers, those ordinary office workers, those who the Avengers can't see. Isn't this the best thing you should do? You are a good neighbor to the people of New York." And what comes next is the real crisis you'll encounter. Thanos and his men If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 204, The Death of Spider-Man. Someone the Avengers can't see. This sentence directly silenced the entire Avengers. They are more aimed at crises that can cause major disasters in the world. Aliens, Hydra, Loki, these even they were set up to deal with these people. It's not that they are really aloof and can't see the difficulties of ordinary people at all. But they are human beings after all, and their energy is limited. Spider-Man is immediately enlightened. By the way, isn't that what I wanted to be, Spider-Man, in the first place? I want to help more people. Those like Uncle Ben. When these kind people are in danger, they need someone like me to stand up. It definitely doesn't mean that people like Thanos just turn a blind eye. They will also cause harm to these people. It can be said that Thanos is the public enemy of all mankind and the civilization of the whole universe. Screen switching. A spaceship shaped like a donut appeared in the sky. And at the moment Spider-Man was sitting on the school bus when all of a sudden the hairs on his hands stood up. His spider telepathy was activated and saw the spaceship in the sky. He immediately patted Ned's face. "Help me distract them." And Ned didn't notice what he said at all. He saw the alien spaceship and shouted directly, "We are finished, that's the alien spaceship." The students rushed to the bus and watched the alien spaceship go. The Spider-Man went straight out of the window and used the cobweb to swing towards the city center at a very fast speed. Screen switching. In the city, Iron Man is battling the Dark Star. Iron Man is losing ground and is on the verge of dying under Black Dwarf's great axe. At this time Spider-Man suddenly appeared, blocked Black Dwarf's axe with his bare hands, and said to Black Dwarf, "Hello, man." Then he turned his head and said, "Mr. Stark, where is this guy from?" Turning his head to speak at this time, Black Dwarf grabbed him directly and threw it out like a chick. The captain of the United States in front of the screen couldn't help it. "Parker, pay attention when fighting." Iron Man also said, "It really doesn't get you on the battlefield anymore." Spider-Man is super depressed. "This is the future me, not the current me. Why do you all talk about me?" Screen switching. Inside the Thanos spaceship. Doctor Strange is being coerced by Ebony Maw. Countless steel needles appeared out of nowhere around Doctor Strange and pierced his body. And these steel needles seem to have a strange power. It hurts to look at. Iron Man was thinking of a way to rescue Doctor Strange. And then found him Doctor Strange's cloak and Spider-Man. He was anxious and said angrily, "I should take you back. Do you know where we are going? There may be no return." Spider-Man said, "If you can't even keep your own neighbor, how can you be considered a good neighbor to the people of New York?" Finally Iron Man stopped talking. Spider-Man said, "To save Doctor Strange. Has Mr. Tony ever seen a movie?" Screen switching. Iron Man appeared in front of Ebony Maw and he could target Ebony Maw with his energy cannon. Wu Mu Hao said, "If I just move casually, I will kill your friend." Iron Man said, "He and I were not friends at all, and it was a matter of professional conduct to save him." Ebony Maw was dismissive of Iron Man, saying, "You can't save him at all. Your strength is insignificant in my opinion." Iron Man said, "But that kid has seen more movies than you." After he finished speaking, 2 missiles suddenly shot from his shoulders, directly blasting a large hole in the outer shell of the spacecraft. Ebony Maw was sucked out of the cosmic void and frozen into ice cubes. Iron Man seals the hole with nanobots. See here. Captain Kirk finally couldn't help complaining, "Thanos and their technology are quite advanced. Why are their spaceships so fragile?" To know his Enterprise, even if the enemy's main artillery attacked with full force, it would not be able to completely smash his shield in one moment. And now the 2 Iron Man missiles actually penetrate the outer shell of the spacecraft. How bad is this quality? How does this math cope with various crises in the universe? Black Widow said, "Spider-Man is not here. I don't know if I have to turn off the shields of the ship." Then the screen switches again. Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man battle against Thanos on Titan. People have seen it a few times, but this time they saw a group of people they hadn't seen before. A woman with tentacles on her forehead Controls Thanos with psychic ability. Spider-Man tried to grab the wireless glove, but almost snatched the wireless glove. Suddenly the man in front of Thanos was furious and punched Thanos a few times. Where is Gamora? What happened to you, Gamora? These two punches woke Thanos road, knocking everyone back again. The crowd looked at each other. Iron Man cursed directly. Where did this sand sculpture come from? It's clear that we have almost won. We have to take down the Infinity Gauntlet. This sand sculpture, not only him, everyone else couldn't help it. They had never seen such a mentally retarded operation. This too is missing. He wouldn't be Thanos' accomplice, would he? But scolding cannot change the situation. Then the screen switches again. Still on this planet. Iron Man stared at Doctor Strange and said, "What the hell are you thinking? Why did you give him the time gem? This is our only chance," Doctor Strange said. At this moment, everyone felt that something was wrong. I saw that more than half of their bodies suddenly turned to ashes. Even Doctor Strange. The audience understood, and Thanos finally snapped his fingers. Please. Then Spider-Man walks towards Iron Man, saying to him, "Mr. Shisk 127, I feel very uncomfortable, very wrong." Then he fell into Iron Man's arms, with fear in his eyes, holding Iron Man's hand, as if he understood something. "Mr. Stark, I don't want to die. I don't want to die." The next moment he also turned to ashes. People in this similar picture have seen it many times, but every time they see it, they feel extremely angry. That deep sense of powerlessness suffocates the audience. This time the people of the Marvel Universe are prepared. They are united. Can they fight against Thanos? Nobody knows. At this time, the narrator said, "Ebony Maw is very strong, but he is crispy, and it is easy to kill him, as long as he can create opportunities. However, it will be difficult to deal with Thanos. To fight Thanos, did you see that fool just now? If you really get the chance, when you want to grab the Infinity Gauntlet, remember to keep this idiot away. It's just a joke. Thanos's spirit is very tough, and it is almost impossible to control him with psychic power. If this person doesn't fight, he may wake up as well. So, to deal with Thanos, Spider-Man still has to unite with Avengers. Don't give Thanos a chance to win infinite gems in advance, and use infinite gems to fight infinite gems. This is similar to other people's strategies, because your enemy is the same person, not in good shape, feeling being hollowed out. Slow writing, sorry. Chapter 205. The strongest mutant in history. Spider-Man's strategy makes everyone look infinitely sad. This kid, he clearly just wants to be a good neighbor to the people of New York, but no matter what crisis anyone encounters, he is willing to stand up and charge ahead. Even in the face of a cosmic overlord like Thanos. He was only 14 years old. Before he died, he shouted, "I don't want to die," which made everyone worried to the extreme. At this point Iron Man said, "Don't worry, we'll take out Thanos this time. We've done a lot of preparation. We've worked on our own Infinity Gauntlet. We have the space gem, and the time gem, and we have the super artificial intelligence Nani, Master, Ancient One and Lord Odin are still alive. We are still studying the quantum field, the microscopic world. We have a lot more things. We are united. We will definitely be able to win him." He seems to be encouraging everyone, but more is encouraging himself. No way. The shadow that Thanos brought him is too great. Until now he is often frightened by nightmares in the middle of the night, dreaming that Thanos destroyed everything. Thor, who hadn't spoken for a long time, said, "I said it. I will give Thanos to me. I will definitely kill him. I'm strong. I'm stronger than before. I will definitely cut off his head." Loki laughed. "Thor, it's only me who will kill him." Doctor Strange said, "By the way, how about we send him straight to the Dark Realm to be with Dormammu? Whether he kills Dormammu or Dormammu kills him, it's a good thing for us." Spider-Man is not immersed in his own death. His thoughts are very free. By the way, Doctor Strange, don't you know that trick? Directly punch people's souls out. Ancient One magician used it. Can't this be used against Thanos? Ancient One shook his head and said, "No, Thanos' spirit and soul are very strong. This can't be done." Black Widow said, "It's the most reliable strategy to have Ant-Man throw 2 miniature nooks in his ears." Everyone began to chat in detail How to kill Thanos. The previous fear of Thanos slowly began to dissipate. Then came Spider-Man's question. Peter Parker is the one who likes you, MJ or Louise. Spider-Man blushed. How could they like me? In fact, in this regard, he is very unconfident, because in school, he is not a man of the hour. He thought about it and said, Liz, in the previous strategy, Liz seemed to have a crush on herself. The website said, answer wrong, punishment, within 3 days, can't say more than 10 words. Spider-Man opens his mouth. Doesn't he? MJ likes me. She is so cool. How could she like me? He was a little unbelievable in his heart, but more of a coursing. If you think about it, this punishment is almost the same as nothing. However, I can only say 10 words in 3 days, which is really too uncomfortable. This punishment is too light than others, and it seems that the website is quite good to him. Yes, after all, he is a hilarious boy. Then everyone's attention was focused on the strategy of Dark Phoenix Jane Grey. Jane Grey, who is only 12 years old, is relatively mature mentally. She saw the expectations of others and directly opened her own strategy. Her business card pops up, but the woman in the picture is not the little girl she is, but a mature sexy woman in a red suit. Teenage Phoenix was stunned. Will I be like this when I grow up? Kind of cool. Children always want to grow up. On her business card, name Jane Grey, codename Phoenix, Dark Phoenix. Introduction, Omega class mutant, 5-level mutant, one of the most powerful mutants of all time, the most powerful psychic on the planet, host of the Phoenix Force. It is not because the Phoenix Force resides on her that she has the most powerful psychic power in the world, but because she has the most powerful psychic power on Earth. The Phoenix Force will choose her as its host. The introduction alone surprised everyone. Professor X can use his psychic power to control all people on Earth in an instant. Is he not the most powerful spirit ability user on Earth? Who is this little girl? How strong is she? If she really exerts her full strength, simply unimaginable. Screen switching. An adult Phoenix in a red suit and glasses is giving a speech at the White House. Ladies and gentlemen, humanity is facing another evolutionary stage. The variant occurs during adolescence and is triggered by emotional ups and downs. At this time, one of the members said, "Thank you, Miss Jane, but you have deviated from the theme of this meeting. It's mutant dangerous. That's inappropriate for you to ask." Phoenix said, "Anyone will get into an accident while driving." The MP said, "So you have to get a driver's license, Mr. MP. There is no license to survive." Phoenix said, "In fact, once mutant's identity is revealed, it can cause fear and hostility, even violence. In order to avoid these encounters with mutant, I call for the cancellation of the mutant registration." At this moment, the congressman received some information, and he said, "Why do you want to hide ghosts and ghosts?" He stood up and said, "I know where they are hiding. I have a list of mutants here. There's a girl who can walk through a wall. If she sneaks into a bank vault or a White House or yours one by one." The legislators at those hearings began to stir. Then the congressman said, "There is also a mutant who can sense and control the human mind, depriving us of our free will. Everyone, in the face of such a mutant, we have the right to decide whether to let mutant be the child's teacher and classmate, or whether to let mutant be our colleague. So, mutant real name registration is imperative." This sentence drew applause from the MPs. Magneto in front of the screen said with hatred, "These human beings, talking so much, just bully us few people and can't resist. Why didn't they set off that Einstein was smarter than them and Jordan jumped higher than them? This is bullying. However, it doesn't matter now. We don't need to be attached to the beautiful country. We have our own country." The narration sounded before Wolverine's consciousness traveled to the past and changed your timeline. Phoenix Jane Grey is a teacher at Mutant School and is also the press release for Mutant School's external affairs. She has the same ability to perceive and control other people's thoughts as Professor X, and psychokinesis that Professor X does not have. She looks strong, but she's actually a gentlewoman, so she's also a favorite of many mutants, such as Cyclops and Godzilla Kong. Wolf Phoenix, in front of the screen, opened his mouth wide. The wolf who looked at King Kong beside him couldn't help but take 2 steps back. Wolverine flashed Flushed point I'm so. Does this site have any comments on me? Even if I'm interested in Jane Grey, it's when she grows up. No, it's because I met her when I grew up. If you say this in front of such a small child, won't I be regarded as a pervert? Finally, Wolverine decided to prove his innocence. He said, Jin, look at the person on the screen. That is you. When you grow up, I should be. Wolverine suddenly ran out of words and didn't know what to say. Phoenix suddenly smiled. I understand, Uncle Logan. You are a good man. Her ability can easily sense whether a person is malicious or kind to him. Moreover, people with strong spiritual power are generally very intelligent, so although she is small, her intelligence has far surpassed that of adults. She has learned what is good or bad. Chapter 206 The end of the old, the beginning of a new. Screen switching. Already in the picture is a young Phoenix. Professor X, who has no hair, is sitting in front of her, with both hands pressing on Phoenix's temple, as if there are a few streamers on his fingertips. I can feel it getting stronger and stronger, Phoenix said. Professor X said, you have to believe in your power, and don't be dominated by it. Then the narration sounded. Phoenix and Professor X have already felt the existence of Phoenix Force in Phoenix. The power terrified them, so Professor X created a mind maze in Phoenix's mind. Not against the Phoenix Force, but against the Phoenix. Let her forget the existence of the Phoenix Force, and put the Phoenix Force to sleep. And this also suppresses Phoenix's ability, so in X-Men battles, she has always been mediocre, until this time. Screen switching. A dam is shown. The dam burst, and the monstrous water rushed down, like a flood, that destroyed the world, to drown everything. There was a plane behind the big water, and the X-Men and his party were sitting on the plane. They had no chance to take off at all, and they were about to be submerged in the waves. At this time, Phoenix appeared in front of the water, and she used her psychokinesis to form a wall in front of her, completely blocking the pouring river water until the plane took off. Later, she was submerged in flood water. The narration sounded again. Phoenix died like this, dying to save everyone. Her death is very sad for the X-Men. Cyclops went to the river to pay homage to Phoenix every day until one day. Screen switching. Adult Cyclops' second appearance. By the lake. He seemed to hear something. Scott, I'm here. Do you hear me? Scott, do I hear me here? Scott, do you hear me? I need you. Cyclops felt a splitting headache and yelled, stop. He couldn't help but took off his eyes and fired a laser beam into the river. At this moment, a huge whirlpool suddenly appeared on the lake. Then the lake burst, and a strong light appeared, and Phoenix, who had died, appeared in front of the radiant eye. Cyclops said in surprise, how come? Phoenix is also confused. I don't know. The two then hugged, and Phoenix took off Cyclops' glasses directly. Radiant Eye said in shock, no, his Cyclops is a passive skill. As long as he opens his eyes, stray light will shoot out. Usually, it is stored by the glasses, energy absorbing, and released when facing the enemy. If he takes off his glasses and goes straight to see Phoenix, he's attacking her directly. But Phoenix didn't mind at all and said, Scott, I want to look you in the eye. It's okay. Cyclops finally opened his eyes, and this time, no laser light was emitted, and his laser ability seemed to disappear. The radiation eye is unknown, and then Cyclops' body became blue veins and bones, and the naked eye became weaker. Old viewers will see at a glance that this is very similar to that girl named Anna or the naughty girl ability. Phoenix is absorbing Cyclops' ability, and it's active. The narration sounded again. Because the laser in the wrong eye provided Phoenix with energy, Phoenix was resurrected, but this time it was actually the Phoenix Force who resurrected her, and the Phoenix Force dominated the body. Cyclops is a great tonic for Phoenix Force. It devours Cyclops' ability. The screen switches again. The picture shows a person giving a speech. Mutants are human like us, only they are sick. However, I'm here to announce that you will have hope. We have invented medicines that can treat you. Then the screen switches again. Already middle-aged, Beast Hank, who had completely chosen his mutant form, walked up to a bald child and stretched out his hand to him. And when he stretched out that hand, he immediately turned into a normal human form. The doctor next to him said to him, this child can make all mutants' abilities disappear, and we have extracted a medicine from him that can treat mutant, so that you can become normal people. See? Here point Magneto in front of the screen finally couldn't help it. Humans really die and our hearts don't die. 4. Flowers. When are we sick? Mutation is not a disease, it's evolution, it's ability. Charles, I don't think we are tough enough right now. Professor X explained painstakingly. This is the future, and our future is completely different. What I want to do is not to be enemies all over the world, but to integrate into this world. Otherwise it would be meaningful to win. The audience also shook their heads. Couldn't the world be a little less malicious towards mutant? What mutant is forcibly registered? What uses drugs to kill mutant? What uses gene to kill mutant? What sentinel? It really is endless, and there is nothing to say. The narration sounded. Man's plan angered Magneto. He found Phoenix, who had gone berserk, to kill the child who could remove the mutant ability. With Magneto's help, Phoenix, out of control, killed Professor X. Even the Phoenix Force got out of control and started to disintegrate the whole world. Fortunately, Phoenix's consciousness has been suppressing the Phoenix Force, so Wolverine has the opportunity to come and kill her. This scene was previously missed in Wolverine's walkthrough. Considering that Jane Grey is still a child, so they did not cut out the scene of her being killed. Just use narration instead. When Magneto in front of the screen heard this, he couldn't help but feel guilty. So in the future I killed Charles. No way, I remember him, and I was still alive during the century. Project. The narration sounded again. Fortunately, Professor X's soul escaped from that body and entered the brain of his brother Li Sheng, who had become a vegetable and was resurrected. And at this moment, Sentinel appeared and they began to hunt mutant frantically. Professor X and Magneto finally let go of each other's prejudices and joined forces against Sentinel. The Future Reversal Project was launched. Wolverine's consciousness traveled back decades, stopped the Sentry Project, and changed everything. In this new world, Phoenix and Grey are still alive. Last night, I made a mistake and didn't post it. 7. Chapter 207 Phoenix Force first revealed. Hearing this, Captain Kirk rubbed his temples and said, okay, change the future through the past, change the entire timeline. I'm very familiar with this. The first great enemy he encountered, the Romulans Nero and the Old Spot, both traveled from the future, which had a great impact on his thoughts. He went on to say, you can simply treat what happened before as non-existent, as something that happened in another parallel universe. Otherwise, it will give you a headache. Wolverine nodded. It does. When he thought that his future self would like this yellow-haired girl next to him, he also felt a pain in his brain. It would be best if this matter did not exist. Otherwise, he might suspect that he is a pervert. Ancient One also nodded and said, in our world, time doesn't work like this. You go to the past, you will only form a new parallel universe in the past, and the future that happens here will not change. So, it's better if this thing doesn't exist, because it doesn't exist for you in the first place, Iron Man murmured. So when we see these futures, after the strategy, so many things have changed. In fact, we are already in another parallel universe. We, in the other universe, don't know what to do with Thanos, not even his existence. Sure. Enough. It's better not to think about it. When these things don't exist, I feel a pain in my brain just thinking about it. Everyone nodded and continued to read the strategy. On the screen. A family of 3 appeared. One of them was the little girl Jane Grey, who was out in the car with her parents, because she was arguing with her parents about the radio, which resulted in her emotional ability awakening, causing a car accident. And both parents died. Watching this scene, the young Phoenix's eyes were flushed red, and he was about to cry. She regrets it, because she killed her parents at this time. The narration sounded. Ability Awakening's piano made the parents very scared. They found Professor X, and wanted Professor X to take her away. Professor X took Kin away as they wished, and modified Kin's memory to make her think her parents were dead. But, in fact, Kin's parents are still alive and well. Upon hearing this, the young Phoenix, who was in grief, turned his head sharply to look at Professor X. At that moment, Professor X felt as if he was being targeted by some ferocious beast. An unimaginable pressure pressed against him. He said nervously, "Listen to me," but Kim seemed to have stopped listening to him, and she hated this person who modified her memory. Obviously my parents are still alive. Why do you want to do this? Why? The surrounding space has begun to vibrate, and everything is cracking. Magneto can't collapse anymore. He wants to take the piano directly. But Kim, who was only 12 years old, just glanced at him. Magneto flew straight up, hit the wall on one side, and passed out. Wolverine wanted to step up to help, but was also sent away by Kin. Following in Magneto's footsteps, Kin walked in front of Professor X step by step. The ground in front of her was cracked, and everything around showed signs of collapse. She said word by word, "Why manipulate my memory? Why lie to me?" Her last words are shouted out. Around all direct collapse. That terrible power. To see all the spectators were appalled. God, she is only 12 years old. 12-year-old to be so terrible, like playing the world's 2 most powerful mutant as a child. Hit the force. They did not fight back. The audience felt faint and even applauded to terrorist pressure from the screen. The next moment the audience even suspect 12-year-old piano gray X-Men will be completely destroyed. Professor's like to explain, but this time he was unable to speak a single word. He tried to use his spiritual power exchange with the piano, but Kin refused to communicate with him. Professor X hearts poured out a desperate Phoenix's power is too strong. Seeing this, Batman hearts welled feel a kind of unspeakable. No wonder that humans fear mutant. Their strength once out of control. Really terrible. As well as Professor X, to toy with people's memories. This is not good. That the next bite of it, not just Batman. Even if other viewers hear Professor X as a heartfelt some fear a man's memory is his experience, his life. You are free to modify someone else's memories. It is to tamper with someone else's life. I'd do change. I would go crazy. At this point, the narration sounded again, but Professor X did not do him harm, because the piano's parents abandoned him. Professor X does not want to let the piano know it. It seems the professor, he was protected by the piano, but he did not know. He thinks of protection, but in the future, resulting in a loss of control of the piano. So, the raiders on the piano, said Professor X1, do not self-righteous. Do not you think that what is good for her, bad for her, she can distinguish themselves, or to deceive the cost is very high. This narration has a strange magic. Almost run away Phoenix directly, to appease down. She widened her mouth. Looking at the face of the horrors caused by the same was not her intention. She was just too excited. She looked down and said, "Professor, I'm sorry, but you should not manipulate my memory. Regardless of whether the memory is good or cruel, it is my experience that you should not do this. This child is too naive. This matter is also the Professor X of the pot. People could not bear to blame. Even Superman could not help but said, Professor, you really should not do this. You should say so to her. She did not fragile as you think. You can be tactful, but do not cheat. Even he was so good. People cannot tolerate other people control their own memories. And according to his experience, if the parents have something to say to you straight 0.7, you will not actually give birth to such hatred. Anyway, he is such parents taught him. He did not feel any problems, to be honest. Parents can Superman culture in this way can really select it, as most parents will educate their children in the universe of the point, even if they are just ordinary farmer. Professor X sighed of relief. He bowed his head and said, I was wrong. I was too proud. If it be a source of future runaway piano, then everything is my fault. I'm really too proud. Then Wolverine and Magneto was ground up from one side of the broken ground. They looked at the piano, had some trepidation the eyes to this moment. Magneto seems to finally understand why humans so afraid mutant. Because now he was in fear of the piano gray. Chapter 208 3 Forms of Phoenix Force. Screen switching. The scene of Phoenix fighting Apocalypse appeared. Under the power of Phoenix, the mighty queen was easily destroyed. The narration sounded again. Among the opponents that Jane faces, Apocalypse is a very powerful enemy, but since Apocalypse has been eliminated, there is no need to go into details. Next, I'm going to talk about the next enemy that Kin faces, the Debily Empire and its survivors. Phoenix Force occasionally devours the life force of fixed star or planet in the universe. The Debris Empire is a distant alien empire whose realm has been swallowed by the Phoenix Force. The Phoenix Force that the king and survivors of the Debris Empire have been tracking. First, they are on the Phoenix Force, and second, they also want to avenge their homeworld and their clansmen, devouring the life force of planet and fixed star. The audience drummed in their hearts again, only to feel that the Phoenix Force was more terrifying than they thought. Every audience is wondering, can Kin really harness this power? If not, it would be a catastrophic disaster. Screen switching. The X-Men are sitting in a spaceship. Their mission is to rescue a spaceship in the human world. These people encountered a solar flare in the 13 universes, had a mechanical failure, and could not return home. At this time, Professor X was in the honeymoon period with humans, and Professor X sent X-Men to rescue these human astronauts. The Blue Devil, also known as Nightcrawler, has the ability to teleport, and with Quicksilver, teleports into the human spaceship. Quicksilver quickly gathered the crew, and the Blue Devil teleported them back to Mutant's ship. Everything is perfect. And at this time, the human astronauts said that their captain was repairing the engines of the space shuttle. So Phoenix volunteered to let the Blue Devil take her to rescue the captain of the spaceship. However, because the hull of the spacecraft was torn apart, the Blue Devils only had time to rescue the shuttle captain, and Phoenix was left on the shuttle. The solar flare directly hit the human space shuttle and even swept the X-Men's car. At this moment, an extremely powerful suction force suddenly came from Phoenix's body, completely absorbing the power of the solar flare. Seeing this scene, those spectators with space navigation experience were all stunned. That's a sunspot. This is one of the most terrifying natural disasters in the universe. I don't know how many spacecraft will be accidentally destroyed by this natural disaster, not to mention super life forms like Keisha. After all, she is the king of the gods, and solar flares cannot cause any damage to her. Thor doesn't say anything about hanging on the wall, and he's not afraid of it, but something like Phoenix can completely absorb the power of a solar flare directly, and most people see it for the first time. Phoenix Force. Really scary. The narration sounded again, absorbing the power of the solar flare. Professor X's mind labyrinth can no longer trap the Phoenix Force. Phoenix Force awakening began to erode Jane's will, and Jin finally discovered Professor X's lie, and disaster struck. Screen switching. I saw Professor X with X-Men around her, trying to convince her to go back to mutant school. But Phoenix, who learns the truth, is out of control. Even Quicksilver using super speed was easily knocked off by Phoenix. Mystique tries to persuade Phoenix, but dies in an accident. Seeing Mystique's death, Beast, Hank and Professor X were heartbroken. Professor X patted his head desperately. Why become so? All this from one of my white lie, or from Phoenix Force? If the Phoenix Force brought death as inevitable, if so, how to do it yourself? As a former admirer Mystique, Beast Hank is unable to accept this fact. But when he turned around to see now is only 12 years old Phoenix, he suddenly shook his head. Everything has not happened. Everything can change. Narration sounded the most vulnerable time in the Piano King Debris Empire found a good her cover her confusion. The Mystique of the dead, but also resulted in re-enemies X-Men and Magneto Brotherhood, and they want to bring back a Piano, a revenge kill her. The two sides fought up, but in the face of the Piano, they found that sad, even if they are not together. Piano opponent. Screen switching. I saw crazy Magneto pulled directly from an underground metro will shut the door. A man he wants to resolve Phoenix. Unfortunately he broke out in full force in front of Phoenix's own. Magneto is white to Magneto very ashamed in front of this screen. Special. Can't beat it. What should I do now? Is the beat. Fortunately, these pictures are only fleeting. Narrator continued. The queen confused Piano Debris Empire. Since the power to cause you so much pain, then you might as well give it to me. Unfortunately, she looked down upon the Phoenix Force. She did not carry ability. Can this power, the Screen switches again. Point 1 after another. Deborah-Mice's Empire survivors rushing toward the piano. Point the piano all broken down into dust. Point and that absorbed the King Deborah-Mice's Empire Phoenix Force and is directly explode Phoenix Force. Point eventually the piano also vanished. Point the outcome looked at the crowd. While sadly point has been a powerful force cannot control no matter at which time. Like piano Grey have no good end. Point Zayak and Grey eyes in front of the screen. 130 has emerged a frightened look. Point she heard one of his own death to see once. This impact is too big for just 12 years old. She is a point. And then again narration sounded. Phoenix Force is one of constant multi-universe. His point is that regardless of which multi-universe Phoenix Force at its birth and morphology were exactly the same. It is one of the ultimate power of the universe, but not born to destroy. It is directly in charge of the power of life and death, usually presents 3 states in the host body. The first is, and now piano Grey as ordinary Phoenix Force, not runaway, nor guards. The second type is the Dark Phoenix, just as the 2 states before the runaway piano are being eroded. The power of the Phoenix Force lost his mind, intent to destroy everything. The third kind is the White Phoenix. Phoenix Force to fully grasp the life and death of for the piano for her have to do is get yourself to achieve the first 3 forms. Stable form of White Phoenix, give the enemy to destruction and death, giving new life to the world, and to do this, I have a suggestion. Raiders do this time. Sube is very confident point because he owns Phoenix Force, but that still will not bite, which is the third form of the Phoenix Force. White Phoenix point he has enough knowledge of the Phoenix Force, any more than people are aware of. Chapter 209 Heaven and Earth are not benevolent, regard all things as white dogs. When they heard this prompt from the narrator, everyone was looking forward to how Raiders would let King control his power, but Batman suddenly laughed. Point everyone was stunned, and Luthor couldn't help but say, "What are you laughing at?" He has no sympathy for this guy who stole his Eston. Point although now he has found the whereabouts of the Eston from other sources, but now the Eston is useless to Superman. Point he lost a window to prove himself by defeating Superman. So the more he watched Batman, the more upset he became. Point Batman said, "I actually found that what we might have been worried about was a bit redundant, and the people behind this site may not be as scary as we thought." Point Keisha asked curiously, "Why do you think that?" She had personally experienced the evil god eats words and knew how terrifying it was. Batman pointed to the screen and said, "In the previous Raiders, the edited past and future were particularly clear in key places, but in the video of Kin's strategy, these things and the battle scenes all flashed by. How is Kin different from the others before?" Thor scratched his head. "She has the Phoenix Force." Batman shook his head. "No, she's just a 12-year-old girl. It shows that this unknown existence is editing our past and the future will also take into account the impact on children. This situation might even be called goodwill." Point Batman is a very wary man, but his observation skills are superb. Point regardless of who's behind the scenes, at least, it's showing a fair bit of goodwill for now. Point Batman's words left everyone thinking, and it felt like it made sense. Point but a lot of people absolutely don't believe it, especially like Loki. Point he thinks that the people behind this behind the scenes site just want to watch them make a fool of themselves. They just want to play with them like bugs and occasionally give some sweets just to make them perform harder. What kind of shit is that? Point Sube, who was peeking at the screen, smiled. Batman really deserves to be known as the greatest detective in human history. This insight is no longer available. Point although Sube doesn't think he is a good person, he did take these things into consideration when he made this video. Point do your best to take care of the 12-year-old Jane Grey's psychological ability. Point it was Optimus Prime who said, "I actually think so too. No matter why this website does this, but we have changed a lot of tragedies from the Raiders." Raleigh, Zabing nodded frantically. Point if they didn't have their own strategy, they don't know what would have happened now, and they definitely feel that the site is full of goodwill. Point Ancient One's expression remained unchanged, and she did not speak against the audience. Point she knows the Dimension Mephisto routines well, and she knows that Mephisto sometimes gives you some sweetness, just to charge more interest. Neo of the Matrix also thinks so. His suspicion is particularly serious now. Because he saw from the architect the template of countless saviors created by the architect. Let the humans act for him. If he hadn't accidentally broken this cycle, I'm afraid that he would have died long ago, and the story of the next savior has begun. So even if he rescued mankind with his strategy, he was still wary of the website. God knows the mastermind behind this website. Could it be a higher level architect? Then everyone listened attentively. Narrator continued. Human reason cannot grasp something because he knew that this thing is not enough. Not deep knowledge. Piano. You cannot understand the Phoenix Force. You will fear it, and produce a lot of negative emotions. These negative emotions, it will be enlarged, so you go out of control. You'll go ballistic. I can imagine in your awareness inside. Phoenix Force may be the power to destroy everything. You definitely scared, but not so. Heaven and earth benevolent to all things as when a dog. Heaven and earth is not to say there is no compassion. All things are the same as the vegetation thing. I said mean things equal in the eyes of the world, whether human or other biotic, abiotic, it are treated equally. There is no good or bad, good and evil, respectively. Phoenix Force is similar to the case. Phoenix Force is not to destroy exists, it's just to destroy a new life, to bring life to the decadent world. When you understand this in mind, you can control the Phoenix Force. After all, in Phoenix Force chose you, you are its owner. This is Sube very confident. Because he was fully grasped the white Phoenix Force of the state, although only fragments, but also understand the nature of the Phoenix Force. Then Sube also mentioned a mouth, and on mutant mankind. It was he doing before humans and mutant raiders of time, without taking into account the point. Finally, humanity and reason will always mutant psych. A great idea is that, in your world, in your opinion, when two different races, different civilizations touch time, gas, war must be, necessarily, a party victory party ruin. One is the conqueror, the one enslaved, but is not the case. The civilized world can still exist comprehensive enough, as long as you agree with cooperation between us, then we can live in peace, even if in the form of life between our social system. How much of a difference? Together we can find common ground in search of what we all want, abandon those differences, we look for common needs, move forward together. This is a human and mutant should have in the future. This sentence is what has put it plainly. This time he felt his own world, his own country. What a great civilization. Unfortunately, the X-Men universe, human beings who uphold, is the kind of zero-sum thinking. This is the source of mutant tragedy. Think about it from another angle. A different and mutant alien civilization and humanity to establish diplomatic relations. Such a thing happen. Mutant human and has always been one. Mutant is born from humans out. In fact, compared to the alien race, it should be more room for cooperation in hand. However, what will develop in such a way, we can only say that the root cause is this zero-sum thinking. And Keisha heard this, his eyes light up. He said, that's good, abandon the differences, go hand in hand, cooperation and win-win. In respect of the universes like this, Captain Kirk is not a head nod, because in their universe, their civilization has almost reached this form. Various races and civilizations integrate together. The difference does not matter. We respect the differences between us, but we could have had more recognition and cooperation. As long as you accept that, we can be a coalition. While others astonished, really have such a thing. Someone shook his head, was silently thinking. Chapter 210, the first trip to a parallel universe. At this point, Phoenix's strategy has been completed. Then the side's question popped up. Did Jane Grey really die when the Queen of the Deberry Empire died? Faced with this question, Jane Grey, who was only 12 years old, said calmly, no, because the Nirvana represented by Phoenix Force is reborn, and death is just another Nirvana process. Seeing her answer, Sube smiled. This kid has a little understanding of Phoenix Force now, and he did this guide in vain. The website then responded, Correct answer and reward Jane Grey's mind anchor ability. Mind anchor. You can let Phoenix set a mind anchor for himself. Her mind drifts to this wrong point, which will set off an alarm. This will make her more aware of whether her mind has been affected, and she can reset her own state of mind through her mind. This helps her take control of the Phoenix Force. Sure enough, the website is also very good for the protagonists of these raiders. Next, there is Wonder Woman's raiders, but Wonder Woman doesn't feel that she needs to watch it ahead of time. So this time the guide video is here. The audience began to communicate and chat. An hour later, the website disappeared again. And Sube retracted his gaze. This time the reward is even more nonsense. The 3 rewards actually gave him 3000 years of life. Not even an extra skill point. Could it be a website that feels that his ability is already 130 strong enough? Sube let out a long sigh, and now he has a lifespan of 7500 years. He feels that he can already go around these parallel universes, but before leaving, he made a wish with a great prophecy. As for the research on spaceships, each of their experiments will be successful at the first time. They already felt that, according to the current progress, it would take a decade or 2 for the Academy of Sciences to build the spacecraft. So he used the Great Prophecy to help them. And this only consumed 100 years of his lifespan, and it doesn't matter to him now. And then he was about to go to the parallel universe to take a look. There is no special goal, just go and have a look. After all, with so many new worlds in front of him, it would be a waste not to go. Just using the big prophecy once, it will consume 1000 years of life, and he is really painful. At this time, Sube suddenly had an idea in his mind. He thought about it, or he could use the Great Prophecy to improve the performance of the parallel universe transmission device so that it could transmit life. This consumption should be smaller. The feedback given to him by the Great Prophecy is that it needs to consume 3000 years of life. It seems that it consumes more, but using the big prophecy to go directly is once every 1000 years. And this is a one-shot deal, so it is very cost effective. Anyway, he just got the 3000 year lifespan, which is the same as Lars, so he directly used the Great Prophecy. I said that improving the performance of the parallel universe transmission device can directly transmit life. The next moment, he felt the consumption of his life. And then the parallel universe device changed, not only its performance, but also its appearance. It turned into a watch directly, and put it on his hand. It looks unremarkable, but who would have thought it was such a powerful thing? Sube thought about it, and directly positioned the world of X-Men. Maybe, because he also has Phoenix Force, he is very concerned about the current progress of Phoenix Jane Grey. Then, the parallel universe teleportation device opens. The next moment, Sube felt as if he had crossed an endless sea. The originally calm sea, because of the arrival of Sube, suddenly stirred up a violent storm, intending to destroy it. But the parallel universe teleportation device showed a shield, blocking these unknown energies. I don't know how long it took. Sube seemed to have lost the concept of time. Then he appeared in a street. It seems that it is not much different from his hometown, but it is a foreign country. Did you succeed yourself? And at this moment, seeing the TV in front of him, a man appeared, and that man was giving an impassioned speech. Mutants' independence and establishment of the country. This is absolutely not allowed. The fact that the United Nations has passed this agreement is simply bullshit. Think about it. Your children will live with these freaks in the future. They have the power to crush your children easily. Can you bear it? Gotta come to the right place. But without mutant, are your children safe? Are so many school shootings a year fake? It seems that, although mutants founding is successful, there is still a long way to go. Sube immediately used the ability of mechanical mind to control various TVs, radios, and radios on one side, and then read information about this world. Mutant's entertainment career has yet to start. However, the FOM country established by Mutant has been recognized by the United Nations. It is an official country. Every mutant born, if willing to show his identity, can obtain the nationality of the FOM country. Moreover, the FOM country has also organized a huge team of lawyers to fight for mutants' rights and interests in Various countries, these lawyers only accept money, and if they have enough money, they are willing to defend Satan. So, as long as you use it well. These slags are also very useful point, but there are very few others after all. The world has not yet developed the internet, and there is too little information dissemination, and ordinary people's perception of mutant comes from these politicians instigated by these politicians. Raw's voice against mutant was loud point in Subei's view. These politicians are not necessarily against mutant point, rather, it is against the fact that mutant can get more political. Capital for them point. It can only be said that politicians are the same creatures, no matter which world they are in point. Unfortunately, mutant is still a little conservative point. They can totally spend money to lobby these politicians according to the rules of this world. This is absolutely possible, and politicians can also use Liu Yanxiao. After taking back his mechanical mind, Subei was going to visit from country point. He is not going to fly. Nor is he going to teleport. He is going to get a car to drive. Just treat it as a trip point anyway. The flow rates of the two worlds are different. Even if it takes a few months in this world, it is probably only a few days in my own world point. When he drove the car all the way and walked to the desert, suddenly a figure of a girl appeared in front of him and waved to her. It's hitchhiking. Subei stopped the car and said, "I'm going to From Country. Will you drop by?" The girl nodded and got into the car. "By the way, why are you going to From Country?" Subei said, "I'm very interested in mutant. By the way, my name is Subei." The girl looked at Subei for a long time and finally said, "My name is Anna. You can call me Naughty." "Okay." The little Naughty is so big. Is it at least 20? No, isn't she much younger than Phoenix? The butterfly effect is not so outrageous, is it? So, Subei used mind ability to read the girl's heart. You can't have someone with an unknown body in the car, and you don't know it, right? I don't know if everyone is interested in the addition of the protagonist. It is another way to observe these worlds. After all, I have been writing strategy videos, and the protagonist has been tiring to watch the changes of these worlds with a high dimensional observer, so I want to change the way and let the protagonist experience these changes in the world. I hope everyone likes it. The protagonist is very good, don't dislike him. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 211. What? This world has been restarted. Just when Subei wanted to use the mental ability perception girl's thoughts, she suddenly found that the girl was very familiar. Special. Isn't this in the first battle? That CIA's female detective, Moira, the ex-girlfriend of Professor X. Dress up. I almost didn't recognize myself. Why does she say she is Anna? Why does she know Little Naughty? Also, she should be about the same age as Professor X. Shouldn't she be in her 30s or 40s? Why do you look so young? Even with good care, the collagen on your face is outrageous. There were too many questions. Subei couldn't help it and peered into her thoughts directly. The next moment, Moira suddenly became alert. "No, you are a mutant of the mind ability. What are you doing?" Subei instantly read a lot of information from her brain. Subei's face changed, and then his perception was blocked. Moira was furious. "Damn it. How did you do it? How could I not know about you?" Yes, she should know. All mutants with psychic ability point, because she is Moira is a mutant with a reincarnation ability point. Every time she dies, she returns to the time she was born point. If she doesn't make much changes to her life, then the world will continue to develop according to the past trajectory. She will live in this cycle forever, but the world will move forward point. But if she changes, the whole world will change. Equivalent to restarting mutants world every time she dies, kind of like Tom in Edge of Tomorrow point in Moi's first reincarnation. Mutant ended in demise point, so start with the second cycle point. She thought desperately to change the world in the tragedy of mutant point, but every time she failed point so far. She has been reincarnated 9 times. This time, she had other plans. She hadn't interfered with Professor X and Magneto, but she didn't expect that Professor X and Magneto would be able to unite point. Moreover, Dr. Trisk, who was studying Sentinel, Colonel Stricker, who had been using mutant as a weapon, and Essex, who was studying genetic weapons to destroy human beings, all disappeared inexplicably. Most importantly, since no one can remember these people, except her, the change was beyond Moira's expectations. What was even more unexpected was that Professor X and Magneto actually succeeded in founding a country. This is so unexpected. She didn't know what happened, so she didn't interfere too much. She wanted to continue to observe, and she also wanted to go to Fom country to see what happened. And Subei, who saw this memory, just felt that it was outrageous to come home. What I'm here for is the movie version of the X-Men incident. How could such an outrageous ability appear, still in a supporting role, who has no memory of anything other than her breaking Professor X's waist? And most importantly, the X-Men cinematic universe has been rebooted by Moira. Tussauds thought it was the original movie universe. This simply surprised Subei to the extreme. I just came to Mutants universe, and I gave myself a king bomb. But wouldn't that be more interesting? After all, Mutants film, Subei, is almost finished. I don't know how it will develop later, but now, I know something. It turns out that Mutant will encounter so many ferocious enemies. I don't know if the strategy I've made for them now can stand it. Subei hit a hatter and said, "A stranger got into my car, and I always want to get to know her." Moira looked at Subei uncertainly. Subei said, take it easy, my telepathy ability is very watery. I don't see anything. Subei really just came to see the changes she brought to the world. Moira shook her head. You're a variable I've never seen or encountered. I don't know what this variable will bring. Hopefully it's a good thing. As for Subei's words, she didn't believe a word. Suddenly there is a mutant who can break through her own spiritual barrier. Although she does not have the ability of telepathy, she has the high technology of the future. In the past few decades, she did not do nothing, but did a lot of things, such as creating a device that could block psychological induction. Subei's ability to break through this device shows whether he is an ordinary telepathy ability. A super telepathy ability who he has never met in 9 reincarnations, plus the disappearance of those villains and the changes of Professor X and Magneto. She felt that there must be a connection between the two, but Subei didn't want to say that. She didn't ask too much. Finally, the two have entered the country of the Fom country. It is said that the kingdom is actually just a small town, and it is very empty. It has been a while since Mutant was founded, but there are only a few hundred mutants who are willing to come and live here, which is too few for a city. But fortunately, businessmen do not choose these. They will come when there is business, and give this small town a little vitality. There are also people who are curious about Mutant here. For flowers 0. Moira followed Subei into the Fom country, and suddenly saw a group of people in front of her. They held up all kinds of shooting equipment and reflectors. Moira stunned. Are they making a movie? This operation was really unexpected to her. Subei nodded and said, this is a good start. Soft power is also part of strength. Nowadays, movies are the most common means of entertainment for the public. Wouldn't it be great if we could influence human perceptions of mutant through movies and ease conflicts? Subei knows better than anyone how much influence movies and entertainment can have on young people in the age of no internet. And hearing Subei's words, Moira, the mutant of the 9th reincarnation, was still stunned. Why, I haven't thought about this operation before, but is it really feasible, thinking of the murderous enemies that mutant will face in the future? She is skeptical. 0. Subei leaned over. See, the protagonist is reciting white, and she doesn't need to change clothes after the performance. Countless scales suddenly turned up and down all over the body, and then changed into another set of clothes. This is actually Mystique. 2. No one in Mutant is more suitable for 1,000 acres than Mystique. Because she was a 1,000-faced actress then. Subei heard it again, and there was a burst of singing from the front. It was Mutant who recorded the MV in town. The girl's singing voice is very moving, and she actually has special effects. When she sings, Subei recognized it immediately. Isn't this Hyeon, the girl who appeared in the woods and sang in the woods in X-Men Dark Phoenix? Right, that's what makes the most of it. Is there anyone who is more suitable to be a new idol of Mutant than Mutant with its own special effects? But what about Phoenix? When Subei came, what he wanted most was to see how Phoenix was in control of the Phoenix Force. Then, without hesitation, He activated his high dimensional observer ability to find Jane Grey's existence point, and this made him find a surprise point. He discovered Magneto, who was actually making Sentinel point after Sentinel defeated Apocalypse. X-Men destroyed Sentinel in order not to let Sentinel's technology remain in this world point, and now Magneto wants to create Sentinel again. Because of Phoenix's terrifying power, he was afraid that Phoenix would go mad, afraid that there was nothing he could do at that time point. Special, Magneto, you are not Batman. Why are you doing such a thing? Chapter 212. The Avengers crush the Dark Elves. But Super didn't want to interfere. Point in his view, studying Sentinel is not a problem for mutant. Point who said that mutants can only rely on their super ability. Humans can use high technology, and they can too. Point at this time, Super finally saw Phoenix. Point little Jean Grey is in school. Point there aren't many people in the school now, but Super sees Teenage Storm and the pig shoots the eye. Point the three of them are almost an iron triangle. Point and about the same age. The other two look like a year or two older than Phoenix. It is Professor X who is in class. Super didn't want to bother and continued to observe the world by using the ability to observe from a high position. Point then he discovered that what was even more interesting was that humans actually collected the remnants of Apocalypse. Point they were doing research on Apocalypse's DNA and apparently never gave up on mutant. Point Super couldn't help shaking his head. 3-0 followed Phoenix's dismissal. Point Super walked to the school gate and said to her, "Hello, kin." Point Phoenix looked at Super unexpectedly. "Hello, who are you? Do I know you?" Super put his hand on her head and used telepathy's ability to transmit the magic created by the macroscopic magic theory to her. In this way, it should be easier for her to use magic to control Phoenix Force. Point Phoenix looked at Super in shock. "Uncle," Super said, "I see that you have a peculiar skeleton and you are born to learn magic. As long as you can master magic, you will be up to you to save the world in the future." Phoenix looked bewildered. "But, Uncle, I don't know you yet." Super put a finger to his lips and said, "Shh, it doesn't matter. Let's keep this as a secret." "Okay." Phoenix thought for a while, then stretched out his hand and said, "Okay, I won't tell anyone." Super couldn't help but stunned. What does this mean? Then he slapped his forehead to understand. Point this little girl wants to hook herself up. Point so he hooked the little girl's little finger and pressed his thumbs together. Then Super just disappeared in front of Phoenix. Point he went to the Marvel world. Point Phoenix looked at his figure and felt a little lost. Point because when she saw Super earlier, she felt a sense of intimacy from the bottom of her heart. But unfortunately, she didn't have time to chat more with this strange uncle. "We'll meet, won't we? Strange uncle." Point she looked at the place where Super disappeared and returned to the dormitory with a book. Point Super walked in such a hurry because he had just suddenly observed that there was a war in the Marvel world. Point the cause of the war was the invasion of the Dark Elves. Iron Man has established its own defense surveillance network on Earth, and once gamma ray information similar to infinite gems appears, it can be detected immediately. Point the reality gem and infinite gems appeared on Earth in the form of tape particles possessing the body of Thor's ex-girlfriend Jane Foster. Iron Man brought Jane Foster back to Avengers headquarters and discussed with Dr. Banner, a gamma ray expert, and Dr. Pym, a first-generation Ant-Man, how the reality gem could be taken out. Point and don't hurt Jane Foster. And the Dark Elves who tracked the reality gem invaded the Earth when the reality gem appeared. Point Dark Elves hiding techniques are so advanced that they can even sneak into Asgard with ease. Point but Iron Man has a deeper understanding of space in his communication with Keisha, and he has monitored the fluctuations of the Dark Elf fleet. Point New York City. Point suddenly, dozens of Dark Elf fleets appeared in the sky. Point the last time the Chitauri invaded the fleet was much larger than the Dark Elves, but it was in outer space after all. Point this time, the appearance of the Dark Elves fleet immediately caused everyone's panic. Point the whole city was in chaos. Iron Man said to Nini, "Help direct the evacuation and protect the crowd." "Okay, Tony." Point hundreds of battle suits were then flown out of his home to help evacuate and protect the crowd. Point the Avengers come together. Only Thor and Spider-Man are not there. Iron Man said, "Does the captain have any strategy, Captain?" The United States said, "How about a Pym particle operation?" This is one of the tactics they devised against Thanos, just in time to try out the Dark Elves. So the Avengers appeared with the equipment Iron Man played for them take to the skies to face off against the Dark Elf soldiers and ships Ant-Man Scott, on the other hand, shrank in size and flew towards the Dark Elves fleet shrinking flying. Darts were then thrown at the Dark Elves fleet. This kind of flying darts is specially made much more powerful than the previous shrinking flying darts, and especially designed for super large objects such as spaceships. When flying darts hit the Dark Elves fleet, the Dark Elf's warship suddenly shrank to only the fist file size, and was directly destroyed by Nina's 2 steel armors. Then Ant-Man threw a dozen flying darts, directly shrinking all the Dark Elves ships. Iron Man looks overjoyed. It works. The guide is really useful. Pulling drive Pym into Avengers was definitely the right strategy. Pym particles are simply too strong. At the same time a shadow broke into the Avengers headquarters. He turned his head to look at the battle in the sky. With an unexpected look on his face, the Dark Elves were defeated so easily. How did these people do it? A pop-up window was presented in front of him, and the pop-up window presented a reduced picture of the Dark Elves fleet. This guy just looks stupid. What kind of magic is this? How could these Earthlings have such outrageous things? Shrinking an enemy warship into a toy. How to fight this? Then the fingers on his hand became mechanical, inserted into a port on one side, and began trying to hack into the Avengers systems to find the source of the weapon. At this time, he suddenly found a woman in front of him. It was Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch said, "Sure enough, the captain was right. Surely, someone will send spies. Who sent you? Dark Elves or Thanos?" The man had a very surprised look on his face. "You actually know Lord Thanos? You're so brave. You dare to speak the name of Lord Thanos." He was stalling for time to get information on the headquarters of the Vengeance 0.7 Alliance. Unfortunately, he didn't find anything. It seemed like an empty shell. Scarlet Witch said, "Stupid. This place is fake." At the beginning of the battle, the Avengers relocated the headquarters of the Avengers still using Pym particles shrink and hide the real Avengers headquarters, and put the fake Avengers headquarters here for fishing. Now here comes the fish. With a wave of the Pink Witch's hand, a red light wrapped around the person, knocking him out to death. Avengers receives one of Thanos' captives, and Sube walked the streets of this world, watching the small Dark Elf planes being shot down one by one in the sky. He couldn't help shaking his head and said, "Sure enough, I said, outside the infinite gems, above the earth, Pym particles are the most outrageous things in this world. Dark Elves are not enough to see." Chapter 213 The Avengers Celebration Banquet. But as soon as these words were finished, Sube was slapped in the face. Countless dots flew out of the blown up Dark Elf warships. Those little dots slammed into the Avengers, instantly turning the people they hit on their backs. It was a shrunk Dark Elf. The most outrageous thing in this world is that these people in spaceships are often more docked than spaceships. Before taking control of the reality gem, the leader of the Dark Elves could take Thor's full blow. Thor's mother had just been killed at the time, and his power with hatred was definitely one of the pinnacles of his life. Although Malekith was injured, it was not serious, and one can imagine how strong he is. And later, when Thor faced the second master of the Dark Elves, the second master turned into a cursed warrior unique to the Dark Elves, and beat Thor almost unable to take care of himself. Therefore, when these Dark Elf warriors miniaturized by Pym particles have all become cursed warriors, the power can be imagined. But the Avengers didn't panic. Captain the United States said, "Plan to." Then they pressed a button on their waist. Everyone also became smaller, and thus fought against the warriors of the Dark Elves. This is the second set of Pym's tactics. Pym particles. There is a real pain in the ***13. It can shrink objects, Pym said, shrinking the distance between atoms, and the mass of the object being shrunk remains unchanged. But the quality has obviously changed. How else could Pym carry a tank with him, and so many cars, and walk around the lab like a suitcase? Pym particles are by no means narrowing the distance between atoms. Otherwise how could Ant-Man narrow the subatomic state? Therefore, although these enemies have been reduced, their combat power has not been damaged, but because they are smaller, they are not easy to be hit. They also had to scale down to cope. At this time, the best part of this plan is shown, so that the battle will not cause too Much damage to the city. Subei laughed when he saw how hard they were playing. It seems that the Pime particle comes with this kind of funny function. Although it has become smaller, the power of the weapon remains the same, and the power remains the same, but it always seems to have no deterrent effect. And at this moment, suddenly Subei turned his head. He saw a portal opened in front of him, and Master Ancient One came out. Ancient One looked at Subei and waited. "Who is your excellency? Are you not from our world?" Just before the magician guarding the Earth's formation called the police. The formation found a force that did not belong to this world, comparable to the power of Dimension Mephisto. Ancient One was shocked that Dimension Mephisto had invaded and immediately came to checkpoint. But seeing Subei, she knew it wasn't any Dimension Mephisto. She knew. Seeing Ancient One seems to be looking for trouble, Suzuki used Chaos Mind on her. Although Subei has a strong ability, he hasn't fought much and doesn't want to fight. After all, Ancient One is unfathomable, and geniuses know how strong she is. This skill cannot even withstand the sorcerer Supreme. Ancient One. Ancient One's eyes went blank for a moment. First take 2 steps, then sit down again, and then suddenly stand upside down again, taking a big top called human delusional behavior. Subei was amused. He thought for a while and said, "I said, people in this world can't find my abnormality." The great prophecy was performed, erasing the possibility of him being discovered by people in this world. And that only took half a year of his life. Then Subei left with the teleportation ability. As soon as he left, Ancient One recovered, her eyes regained clarity, and then her head pounded. What happened before was so chaotic that she couldn't remember clearly. She only roughly remembered that she met someone, and then she seemed to lose her mind. My head is so confused. I don't know what I'm doing or what I've seen. She suddenly remembered what Keisha said. Keisha had heard the phrase, "that unknown existence." After hearing that voice, Keisha's whole body became a mess. She didn't know what she was doing, and she didn't know what happened. Isn't this the same as what I encountered? Could it be that what I met earlier was the man behind that website, that unknown being who lives in endless time and space? No, impossible. If that is the existence of this world comes, the movement will not be so small. So that's his followers, or the messenger. Ancient One brain is still in shock, rumbling what to do, holding his time gem, thinking about whether or not to think about how to catch up with Subei. But finally she gave up, because she remembered the word said before Batman. The sight is like no malice towards them. And just dementia in their own time. If that person has their own malicious, maybe he was dead. At least he can take away time gem. So Ancient One dismissed the idea of the hunt. For Subei, the away time gem meaningless. Read Loki. He has been known to leave this universe. Infinite gems, just some good looking stones. Subei continued to watch the battle, but this time, the fight was over. Thor, although not, but their Hulk. With only the power of the flesh, Hulk storm hit the leader of the Dark Elves, Keith Mailer, and his deputy. Other Dark Elf either killed or else be arrested. This time the Dark Elves invasion of Crisis easily solved. Next, Avengers and Avengers will open the celebration. Not only Avengers, as well as celebrities of all parties to participate. Even War Machine Rhodes also joined. Iron Man originally did not want to join Avengers. Rhodes, as seen in the future, Rhodes because we were paralyzed. But he was a Rhodes Jabuzhu yearning for fighting heart. Rhodes directly in front of Iron Man's side snatched a set of armor, become War Machine. Now, War Machine is telling his joke. "I'm holding tank." The tank boom bang, placed in front of the general, said, "In general you find that you sue. Why do not you laugh?" "Well, I'm too lazy to you howling at the moon. If people hear long laugh spray, sue." Bay could not help rubbed his nose. "I really did not think of where the humor in this sentence are." The belated Thor, drinking his bluster, he took out a bottle. "Sue, you do not experimental. This wine has been for thousands of years." "Yeah. Is Glen Cask Fleet Wreckage manufactured brewing for thousands of years? This fear is not bad, right?" Subei carefully tasted. One sinks. He felt that the people are burning up like a general, head dizzy up. This wine is too strong, and he cannot withstand. Subei predicted that the use of a large operation, eliminating the wine world, or else he scared weighs 130 here. Subei actually be able to see such a drink. Spirits. Thor admire very pleased. He went on his neck and Sube pinched you together, but Sube really do not want to drink the wine of Thor, and he walked toward the bar. Black Widow was their bartender. Black Widow laughed. Sue, would you like something to drink? I do not know why these people seem to Sube very familiar. Look. Sube said, just wanted to chat and miss nothing. Just drank Thor's spirits. I'm a bit dizzy. Black Widow smiled and said, that is for God to drink. We drink a little sad. That I will give you a cup of tune. Hangover bar. Sube laughed. And this? Black Widow crisp as Sube chewed a glass of wine. He carefully tasted. Tastes really good. Then he and Black Widow chat away. Just at this time, Nick Fury Mushan arrived late. He looked at the bar. Sube and Black Widow. Man asked to the side of the Iron. Who is the man? Iron Man said, it was Sue. Sube. Nick Fury frowned tighter. How do you mean? Like I know him. He is what kind of person? Iron Man said, he is our friend. He is. Iron Man instant face became very pale. He only remembers the man seems to be his friend, but what is he doing? Where is he from? He has any experience, and what they have the intersection, even when we know, he simply could not remember. This is horrible. Chapter 214 Time Administration and Thanos. Nini, who is that? Sube. Sube's weirdness made Iron Man think of Professor X. Wouldn't he control his mind? Iron Man has a terrible idea, so he immediately asks Nini. If Sube is a mind-capable person, he can affect his own memory, but he can't affect the records of artificial intelligence. Mr. Tony, that's Sube. Mr. Sue. A-level clearance granted by you personally. Hearing Nina's reply, Iron Man's face became even more ugly, and even the artificial intelligence records were tampered with, and A-level permissions, that is second only to your own management authority. Something went terribly wrong. Iron Man gave Nick Fury a wink, and the two of them quietly surrounded Sube. Heaven and earth conscience. Sube really has no idea of what to do. He just wanted to have a drink here, talk about life with his loyal audience, and experience the changes in the world. Because of him. It is another type of below the line base. However, for the sake of convenience, he added a little bit to these people's memory that he was their friend. By the way, I also took an A-level permission from Nini, and I didn't do anything else. Although Iron Man and Nick Fury's actions are very covert, the hostility between the two can't be hidden. Sue Bay, who owns the Phoenix Force, is very sensitive to this kind of hostility. He couldn't help shaking his head. To add a real memory to everyone, it was necessary to add memory to the subconscious from the superficial level, just like in Inception, and it had to be logical. It was very troublesome. Sube was just here to mix and drink, and never thought to do it at all. Looks like it was spotted. Sube said to Black Widow, it was a pleasure chatting with you, but I'm leaving. But Black Widow suddenly reached out and grabbed Sube, and his feet jumped up, trying to wrap around his neck and take Sube down. Because Nick Fury just signed her and asked her to take down Sube. But as soon as she put on Sube, her whole body went numb. An electric light appeared on Sube's body, which directly stunned her. Sube used the macro magic theory to create his own Phoenix magic, as well as a lot of outrageous abilities. Although he didn't like to fight, he didn't necessarily fear anyone. If he really wanted to fight. This scene made the scene quiet for a while. No one knew what happened. Okay, it's on. When Iron Man pressed on his chest, the nano armor began to grow, covering his entire body. He felt that this man of unknown origin was either related to Thanos or a Dark Elves, and he had to take Sube down. However, the nano armor shrank back only halfway through its growth. Sube waved his finger at him. Tony, I'm a friend. I'm not here to fight. Sube controlled his armor with the robot mind ability, which was even better than Sube imagined, and with the blessing of Phoenix Force, the potential of the mechanical mind still has a lot of room for development. Iron Man seemed to have been hit with a sap. His face was even paler. He had no idea how Sube did it. How could he control his armor so easily? Hacked into your system. Could he be an artificial intelligence like Ultron? Even so, it is impossible for one's own armor to be taken without a response. I also have a super artificial intelligence. Nini. Only then did Thor, America and Captain react. Thor angrily said, Tony, what are you doing? Iron Man said solemnly, Sube has a problem. Does any of you remember how you met him? And what kind of intersection did you have with him? Everyone was stunned, and their faces changed greatly. Thor's suit was instantly replaced by his armor. He held the hammer and said, Sube, you actually played with my memory and my emotions. I treated you as a good friend and I even invited you to drink Asgard great wine. Who exactly are you? Sube covered his face. Can you be more precise with your words? When have I ever deceived your feelings? Now that it was exposed, Sube had no intention of fighting with them and was about to leave. Suddenly, his expression changed and his figure disappeared and appeared outside Avengers headquarters. A group of people in black helmets and black armor appeared outside. They took out a machine and were trying to do something. And at the moment of seeing Sube, they all freeze. Sube freezes their minds and reads their memories. It turns out that they are the people of the Time Administration. This is an organization that appeared in the Marvel movie birth drama Loki. They set a sacred timeline, and only the Marvel movie universe that controls the development of this sacred timeline can exist. This sacred timeline is the storyline of the cinematic universe. If anyone deviates from the development of this timeline, they will be cut out, thrown to the end of time, and fed to a giant monster that can eat everything. Sube picked up their equipment and weapons and said with a smile, the Time Administration actually want to cut out this timeline and let me meet the Conqueror Kang. This timeline is slowly cultivated by Sube and it cannot be destroyed by others. Little bit earlier in the distant starry sky, on Thanos' battleship. Thanos threw the members of the Time Administration to the ground. These time bureaucrats come here to cut Loki, not wanting Loki to be out of shape and get rid of their cuts. But these people were discovered by Thanos, and they were taken directly by Thanos. Later, Thanos learned everything from the memory of these people, Kang the Conqueror, the Time Administration, and his own destiny. Thanos turned his attention to Loki. Now Loki has mixed into the high-level hands of Thanos, having gotten to this position in such a short time. I have to say that Loki really has two brushes. Thanos said lightly to Loki, anything you want to say about the Time Administration statement? Loki's expression remained the same. It's just a bunch of lunatics. How is it possible to cut the timeline so ridiculously? Thanos said, Loki, I gave you a chance. From the mouth of the Time Administration. He knew that Loki could not be loyal to himself, but as long as this time, Loki knelt down and was loyal to himself, he could forgive him. Too bad this guy doesn't know what to do. But Ebony Moore on the side was furious, grabbed Loki directly with one hand and asked him to kneel in front of Thanos, but Loki, who had just been captured, disappeared. It's just an illusion. I don't know when Loki has replaced himself with an illusion and the real person has escaped. Ebony Moore furious. Father Thanos waved his hand and said, I already understand the situation. What time management office is there? It's just like a mouse and cockroach, something that only dares to hide in the dark, to decide my fate at will. Who do they think they are? After he finished speaking, he took the time management instrument and opened the time gate and transported himself to the headquarters of the time management. Then came a bloodbath. When Thanos came to the end of time with all his hardships and walked into the castle of Kang the Conqueror, he saw that Sube was chatting with Kang the Conqueror and he was very happy. The protagonist is also promoting the plot. If you don't like the protagonist, I will speed up the rhythm. Chapter 215. 215 chapters. Thanos, I'm the Destiny. Kang the Conqueror laugh. Tears must flow out. So is it like this? So all I'm doing is really just a joke. Sube tender her lips. Definitely a joke. Your so-called sacred timeline, but also the infinite parallel universe of Marvel movie universe. Nothing. You maintain sacred timeline that only one of you do not, you know, like in the other parallel universe, you have to have numerous. You just keep the ball rolling in a pond house. To think that control of the sea, previous Sube is so tactful for him to explain. Kang the Conqueror listened to understand, plus it would have been tired. So Kang the Conqueror, after the laugh, edged out a gun against his head, pulled the trigger. Authority finished this time, since the development of the universe no longer subject to manipulation. Thanos, watching this strange scene and finally could not resist against Sube, said, you are the director of the Bureau of Time, Kang. Subei refers to the body said, "He is. I'm just a passing traveler. Goodbye, Thanos." Then, Subei's statue disappeared. He left the Marvel movie universe. Thanos leaving only one person standing there blankly. Authority Thanos 133 penetrated the time to see a lot of incredible things, such as a pumping flexor of infinite gems, when he was almost 3 concept shipping. However, he stays down here. He thought after seeing the time secretary of the board, there will be a life and death battles. I did not want to be so strange ending. Then, Thanos' eyes firmly up. Opened the door of time. He returned to his spacecraft, said, strengthen its efforts to collect information on the Earth, from the information previously passed back to C on Earth, as though there have been some small stuff. The man who captured the Scarlet Witch before being caught, or the Avengers and the Dark Elves battle screen pass back. Even Thanos also think it is noteworthy information. Now, there is no time to the Authority, not the Conqueror Kang. No one can manipulate their own destiny. Only I can maintain this level of the universe. I'm the destiny of the world. After leaving the Marvel universe, Subei went to the other world Rock in the 3-body world. And he has become his sword. Trisomy scared the crap out of people's LUOG drink and chat. Star Trek black people in the world. Subei seen all sorts of interesting aliens even in the world of the Pacific Rim. He also had a handful of power armor. Then he went to the world of Shappa shifting King Kong. Carefully observed that Unicron head of the Earth. He was almost trying to use a machinery of mind. Revive Unicron's head. But the thought of that on Earth there are billions of people's lives. Subei finally gave up. Optimus Prime wait until the completion of his immigration plan, when no one on this Earth. Subei ready to go again. Will Unicron win? Then he went wandering the Earth in the world. Liup Kiang being the engine of curvature drawings, attracted high level vibration. News website has also been said that Liup Kiang out. The Subei did not mind if other people can see. Subei do not mind a few more viewers. This world that a dark future appears to be a glimmer of hope. After Subei went to the world of the Matrix, the world has shown great vitality. Human and artificial intelligence temporarily reached a temporary harmony. Even Subei personally entered the female experience a full version. Feelings after the experience is not as good as the real world. Then he went to the DC universe. He wants to look good to the anti-life equation covering the entire surface of the Earth. It's a pity that after a period of research, he didn't get it. Then he went to the Super God universe again, and it was very quiet there. Morgana, Carl, Sunster and Keisha are very quiet. However, there is a feeling that the mountains are about to come. Subei felt that this feeling was not brought to him by Carl and the others. It should be avoid civilization. Keisha has obtained a lot of new technologies and new theories, and vigorously researches them. As long as they develop results, they will definitely attract the attention of the Void Civilization. Void Civilization would definitely want Keisha to follow in the footsteps of Pangu Civilization and God Civilization at that time. At that time, there is bound to be a tough battle. The last world Subei went to was the world of the Spirit Cage. The world is not peaceful. Mark won the title of Lord and imprisoned Charles, but Charles is not a person who is willing to fail. He launched his own mouth gun. Taking control of the guards, summoning his old ministries. He waged a rebellion. Mark cared about the lives of the people of the lighthouse, and was tied up, but was taken advantage of by Charles. A fierce battle broke out between the two sides, and the whole lighthouse was crumbling. The war made their emotions fluctuate violently, attracting countless polar devouring beasts to come here. There are even calyx beasts that can fly. On a distant hill. The team of Bayuki looked at the performance of the lighthouse, and the strong man said, I have already said that it is unrealistic to cooperate with the lighthouse people. They're screwed. Bayuki said lightly, only Mark can save the world, so the big guy will be handed over to me. Shanda said excitedly, but boss, even you can't resist the king level pole devouring beast. I don't understand. Why is Mark so important? This time Bayuki was no longer silent. She said, because Mark is a perfect compatible abtamer. Only he can be compatible with the gene of the polar beast. Only he can maintain the will of human beings when he incarnates as a polar eater. Only him can enter Star City, completely destroy the mana ecology, and save the world. Remember, This after she finished speaking, she carried the Tangdeo and walked towards the distance point. The abandoned city ahead suddenly shook and countless abandoned buildings collapsed, causing the sky to be filled with smoke and dust. In that smoke, a huge amount of humanoid rose from the ground. The exoskeleton of its whole body is covered with dazzling patterns like the polar devouring beasts. The whole looks like a humanoid. At least 100 meters high. Bayuki took a deep breath, held the handle of the knife and said, "Come on." Even if she lived in the Doomsday for so many years, she had killed countless polar devouring beasts, but at this moment, I also felt unbearable pressure, or I would die here. However, I bet everything on Mark. At this moment, Bayuki suddenly changed. She turned her head and saw the light, and the fire burned her eyes. I saw a flaming flamingo ramming towards the monarch's extreme devouring beast. The flame flamingo's wings directly cut off the king level polar devouring beast. Then the endless flames fell, burning the body of the king level polar devouring beast, burning everything to fly ashes. Bayuki seemed to have heard a voice. I said it long ago, that flames can actually purify the world. You can't kill the polar eater, but the temperature is too low. Then the flaming flamingo disappeared. Bayuki stood there blankly, feeling as if he had a dream. Chapter 216 Godzilla, Misaka Makoto, Dr. Manhattan, Star-Lord. It was Tsubei who killed that king level polar eater. He used the ability of the flame messenger to cover the whole body with flames and turned it into a flaming bird. This ability is stronger than he imagined. More importantly, Phoenix Force has the ability to amplify the user's super ability. This made the temperature of his flames terrifyingly high and instantly killed a demonic polar devouring beast. After doing all this, Tsubei returned to his own world. Only 8 days have passed in his world. All in all, this time Tsubei just wandered around these worlds for a while without a deeper understanding. Mainly because time did not allow. He had to come back and rush to cut the video. And a strange thought popped into his mind. He felt that his great prophecy, the parallel universe transmission device, and the simplified version of the mother body that had just been established in this world were added together with those parallel universes. Can play some flowers, for example. Turn yourself into a youth version of the main god. Send the human beings in your own world to a parallel universe. Do some tasks, and then use the great prophecy to give them some rewards. He didn't know why he had such an idea, but he just felt that it should be related to the origin of the universe. But what is the origin of the universe? He still doesn't understand. As for why he would have such a thought, he thought that it might have something to do with the mysterious website. Maybe the website was hinting at him. He shook his head and drove this thought out. He didn't want to do such a thankless thing. In the next time, he cut the video with peace of mind. After cutting, he also used the ability of the high dimensional observer to look at other worlds. A few other worlds are nothing. But when he saw the 3 new mutant films in the X-Men universe, he nearly spat out a mouthful of old blood. Because the first part is called Professor X and Magneto's 100 Years of Sadism. Part 2 is called The Story Mystique, and I had to tell. Part 3 is called I, Mutant. With the exception of Part 3, the names of Part 1 and Part 2 are simply unsightly. This is mutants' work. It seems that they have mastered the code of how to attract other people's eyeballs. Now the 2 leaders of the mutant world, Professor X and Magneto, are familiar with both names, whether they like them or hate them. As soon as this title came out, it really attracted countless people to the cinema. It has greatly improved the goodwill of human beings to understand mutant. Overall, Mutant's entertainment career is on the way. Mystique has become the idol of thousands of fans, and Professor X and Magneto have been praised by thousands of people, and Mutant has a lot of praise. Then Tsubei uploaded the video. On the dark sea floor, Godzilla was swimming. It wakes up from its long years and senses something that makes it angry. But it's a little hungry, and it wants to find something to eat first. Suddenly, in this dark sea bed, a huge amount of projection screen appeared in front of it. Godzilla swam. It swam, and Godzilla stretched his claws to touch the thing, but he couldn't. Small doubts appeared in the big head. Then one by one small projection screens appeared around and Godzilla saw a lot of humans appearing around. It's a hairless worm, and it's very familiar with this race. Humans once built palaces for it, and in a sense, it is regarded as a patron saint of human beings, so these are made by those hairless bugs. They always surprise me. Dr. Manhattan on Mars, thinking, and the more he thought about it, the more he felt that life originally seemed to have no meaning. The more he thought about it, the farther he felt from the human species emotionally. He was reluctant to accept it, but his rationality told him, it is like this. You are no longer human. He was a little depressed, which made him happy, because he felt that it might not be long before he would even feel depressed himself. But at this moment, a projection screen suddenly appeared in front of him. Even he doesn't know when this projection screen appeared, and what was it projected. Even when he closed his eyes, he couldn't feel the existence of this projection screen. Incomprehensible. It's so funny that there are things in this world that it doesn't understand. He has eyes that light up a bit. Sister, looking at the Shirei Sunspot who seemed to be flying towards her, Misaka Makoto directly rewarded her with a happy electric shock. It would be nice if Sunspot's character wasn't so unacceptable. Misaka Makoto made all preparations to prevent Sunspot and prepared to take a beautiful bath. Suddenly, a projection screen appeared in front of her. 4 flowers, and she didn't feel any electromagnetic signal. What was this? Then there were a lot of screen shots. There's actually a robot on it, and a big monster. What the hell is this? Could it be Sunspot again? I'm going to beat her up later. It's getting more and more nonsense. Star-Lord sang with earphones and danced as he sang, feeling like Elvis was alive. He got a big job, so he was very happy, even when he came to this planet where birds don't shit. At this moment, a projection screen appeared in front of him. However, he was singing and dancing without realizing it at all. On the other side, old viewers from all over the world are ready. When the side came out, their history took notice of Star-Lord. There is no way the current Star-Lord is too eye-catching. Embarrassing dance poses, tone-deaf vocals, it's too hot for the eyes. Iron Man looked at Star-Lord seriously. Do you think he looks like the fool who woke Thanos up? Drive. Banner nodded. It's him. Spider-Man said. Absolutely him. Black Widow frowned. So, he's an Earthling. Although he sang in 5 tones, Black Widow could still hear clearly what he was singing. This is the song of the Earth. However, they had already used all their strength to search for the whereabouts of this fool before, but there was no information at all. And at this moment, Raleigh's face in the world of Pacific Rim changed greatly, and he called out, Kaiju Beast, there. World refers to the monster as the Kaiju Beast. So, when he saw Godzilla, he immediately regarded Godzilla as a Kaiju Beast. Godzilla couldn't help but stunned. It seemed to understand what these hairless bugs said, and this was the first time that it understood what these hairless bugs were talking about. So it roared, I'm not Kaiju Beast, I'm Godzilla. The website seems to have its own language translation system, and everyone understands what it means. Raleigh's hair stood on end, and he was sweating coldly. He had never seen this type of Kaiju Beast. The sense of oppression this monster brought him was not comparable to any Kaiju Beast he had faced before. Could it be that it is the king of monsters in the monster nest? 7 Chapter 217 Star-Lord, comparing mortals with demigod body. Godzilla definitely doesn't know what Raleigh is thinking. After all, from his perspective, humans are hairless bugs, never see human expressions. Seeing that human expressions are so colorful now makes it feel a little strange. At this time, Misaka Makoto let out a scream. She pointed to her face and pointed to what Dr. Manhattan said. Why don't you wear clothes? Also, why is this person this erotic? Is this really what Sunspot did? Not like it. Sunspot doesn't make this kind of stuff. Drive. Manhattan nodded slightly, and a suit appeared on him. In his world, people are used to him like this, but it seems that these people are not used to it yet. His only remaining humanity allowed him to dress, and he asked, can someone explain to me? At this moment, Star-Lord stopped singing and stared at the projection screens in front of him. Wandifa. What is this? War. Machine 33 Rhodes watched the strategy video for the first time, and he shook his head. This is really a full point. At this time, Star-Lord noticed the Captain and Iron Man and was shocked. Avengers. Now, it's Avengers' turn to surprise. Iron Man said, do you know us? then you should be on Earth. However, why was he not found on Earth before? Star-Lord couldn't help shaking his head. His expression was a little excited. Don't you know? The last time you defeated the Chitauri people, you have already become famous in the entire universe. Universe? Black Widow asked. Who are you? Star-Lord said, I'm an interstellar traveler. Yes, interstellar traveler, adventurer. Loki said coldly, I have already found his name. This bad guy is called Star-Lord, Peter Quill, and he is a cosmic thief. Simply put, he's a thief. Star-Lord said angrily, I'm a thief. Do you know Zorro? Do you know Robin Hood? Do you know how to rob the rich to help the poor? Everyone nodded, looking at his angry and corrupt appearance. This is indeed a thief. At this point, Batman said, Loki, you're not in a good shape, and you don't look like you're on a Thanos spaceship right now. His observation was as sharp as ever. Loki looks a little embarrassed now. He snorted coldly, I have a news for you, but don't be scared. I met a bunch of strange people who wanted to take advantage of me before. I deceived them with illusions, and I got the news from their mouths. They said they were the people of the Time Administration, because my presence at Thanos changed the timeline. He wanted to cut me off. Do you believe it? There is a mysterious organization that wants to kill me because I changed the future. Be careful. After all, you have changed a lot of the future. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to get more news. Thanos found out. Maybe Thanos can get some unfavorable news from them. Loki made a rare and kind mention. Rhodes said, looking at the embarrassed Loki, and said, so, you are running for your life in the universe now. He has learned everything from Iron Man's mouth and naturally doesn't like Loki. Loki said furiously, I'm retreating strategically. If it wasn't for those idiots, I would have killed Thanos long ago. The United States captain asked keenly, what kind of people do you mean by Time Administration? Is it a group of people in black armor? Loki was stunned. Have you met the footage of Sube subduing those from the Time Administration was recorded by Iron Man's surveillance equipment. The Avengers have always had a lot of skepticism. Hearing this, I was instantly stunned. Thor can't help scratching his beard. So, Sube is actually here to help us. We really misunderstood him. I think he's a good guy. Do good people modify your memory? Don't you think your brain is also a muscle? Everyone's heart spit. Master Ancient One watched them chat and was not prepared to tell the story of his encounter with Sube for fear of scaring them. However, she no longer recognizes what Sube looks like. At this time, someone finally couldn't help it, and Star-Lord said, can you tell me what's going on? Are you monitoring me? Drive. Manhattan's just interrupted words are finally brought up again. At this point, Black Widow said, let me explain to the newcomers. Parallel universe, editing video of the future and the past. One is an indescribable existence that exists in endless time and space. These gimmicks. I know that these new audiences are stunned for a while. Except definitely Godzilla. It actually has a very high intelligence, but there is no theoretical knowledge. And there is no concept of what parallel universe is. However, in its long life, it has not encountered a few existences with which it can communicate with itself. So, even if it is these hairless worms that I communicate with myself now, it feels very fresh and wants to hear. As for Misaka Makoto, Sister Gun's heart was excited. Isn't this a typical adventure? Could it be that in the future, I will embark on various parallel universes and embark on a journey of adventure? This is really worth looking forward to. This is the adventure life of a super ability girl. Drive. Manhattan nodded calmly and said, it's understandable if that's the case. It's not surprising that existences outside the universe make some things that they can't understand. Then everyone turned their attention to this video. Sube is a little diligent this time. In addition to the last time Wonder Woman has not been on demand guide video. There are also 6 new articles of power, super Dimension Strategy, Godzilla Hyperdimensional Raiders, Dr. Manhattan Super Dimension Raiders, Misaka Makoto Super Dimension Raiders, Star-Lord Super Dimension Strategy, Iron Man 4 Super Dimension Raiders, Aquaman Arthur. Others are fine. But all the old viewers saw that Iron Man's strategy actually came out to the 4th issue, which surprised everyone. The reason why Sube has done a lot of Iron Man's strategy is because he has produced a lot of film and television works. He would think more about doing more of the DC universe, but the movies in the DC universe are indeed less right now. The movie he just has won Aquaman hasn't done point in the next issue. He is ready to do Shazam. Don't know if Shazam is in the same universe as them. The Flash, Green Arrow. These tricks have a lot of TV work point, but it's not the same universe. Sube doesn't want to do it for the time being. He's afraid to confuse others, so who's to watch first? Spider-Man said, "Shall we watch Star-Lord first?" All the old audience couldn't help but nod their heads. They also wanted to know how Star-Lord made such a low-level mistake. Star-Lord said, "We don't seem to know each other. Why? Why do you look at me strangely?" Everyone could not help coughing a few times. Star-Lord felt more and more strange and opened his own strategy with some suspicion. 0.7 showed his photo above, still with a smirk on his face. Name: Peter Quill. Nickname: Star-Lord. Introduction: son of Ego, a member of the Tengen Group, demigod body, founder of Guardians of Galaxy, future son-in-law of Thanos, with demigod body as a mortal existence. In the comics, Egg is a planet with self-awareness, but is not a member of the God Group. But that's what he calls himself in the movie. When the old audience heard the name of the Shanshan Group, their expressions changed instantly. Because they remember the previous Raiders said that mutant was created by the Tengen Group. However, can they be in different universes? Do they have the same group of gods in different universes? Or can the Tengen Group cross the multi-universe? And what the hell is Thanos' son-in-law? What is the evaluation of this, as demigod body is comparable to mortals? But thinking about what Star-Lord did, they felt that this seemed very appropriate. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28: The Power Gem appears. And the most shocked of these people was Star-Lord himself. What kind of godson are you? Are you still Thanos' son-in-law? Or what demigod body? Isn't this nonsense? He has a clear memory of his life, and he remembers how he was brave to save them, but left. As for the supervillain Thanos, he doesn't think he will deal with Thanos and become Thanos' son-in-law. Hearing that Thanos is very ugly, you can imagine what his daughter is like. Demigod body is even more crap. If my dad is really some kind of god, why did my mom die? If he can't even save his mother, is he still worthy of being called a god? Also, is there such a thing as saying demigod body as a mortal? Does this site have an opinion on itself? Star-Lord thinks that this website is not targeting me. Screen switching. A crystal clear brain appeared in a cosmic starry sky. This brain, absorbent, covered itself with the surrounding interstellar dust. I don't know how many years have passed, and slowly it has become a planet. The audience was immediately dumbfounded. Did the planet form this way? Isn't this bullshit? Is it true that every planet is alive and has a brain of its own? All of them are somewhat unacceptable. Then the narration sounded. Quill's father, he doesn't know where he came from, since he has memory. He has been floating in the universe, and he controls the surrounding matter, layer by layer superimposed on himself. So, it became a planet with brains. But he was not satisfied. He began to create life, to create a human form for himself. Then, he looked for all kinds of life in the universe, until one day, he met Star-Lord's mother, Keisha's eyes widened, and she said, "It's really hard to imagine that there is such a magical life in the universe." After reading so many strategies, her already high threshold has become even higher. But a planet with a brain, a planet that can create life, still shocked her. The vastness of the universe is amazing. Drive. Manhattan also said in shock, "Parallel universe. It's too mysterious." Even if he is as powerful as him, he is still shocked by such a life form. This is the direct creation of the world, the creation of life. Compared to this one, he doesn't seem to be very special. It had been a long time since he felt this shock. It feels so good. Then, he had a question. Why did Star-Lord's father do this? Lonely, do you want to find the meaning of life just like yourself? So am I going to create a life and try it out. Screen switching point has come to Earth. Point Egg, in human form, is driving with Star-Lord's mother, listening to music. Point looking very happy. Then Ija took his mother into the forest, and there was a small flower in the forest. Point it looks like coral, and there are various fluorescent lights in the middle. Point Egg said, I was worried that it was not suitable for the soil here, but it took root very quickly, and soon he will be in every corner of the universe. Star-Lord himself was dumbfounded. Point the woman in the picture is indeed her own mother, so young and beautiful. Not like the ill person she remembered. Point so beautiful. Is this how-to video true? Is my father really a planet with brains? But since he is so amazing that he can even create life, why can't he cure his mother's cancer? Why would you abandon yourself? The thought of this made him angry. Point could it be that for this godlike father who possesses the power to create the world, neither himself nor his mother are worth mentioning? Batman frowned. Point he always felt a little strange. Point a god, a planet with a brain, created a human body for itself. Point he planted a magical plant on the earth and said that sooner or later this plant will spread all over the universe. What exactly does he want to do? He always felt that something was wrong, but after all, the information he knew was too little to make inferences. Nothing to say, but Iron Man had no such scruples, saying, Quill, your father planted an alien plant on Earth. It makes me a little concerned that as an exotic species, it might change badly on Earth, or encroach on the growth of native plants. Star-Lord laughed. Don't ask me, I don't know. If you are upset, find this plant and pull it up. By the way, help me light a fire for it and burn it up. Point he is very unhappy about this father he has never seen before. Point then the narration. When Quill was 8 years old, Egg hired saboteurs to come to Earth to take Quill, but Yondu, the leader of the destroyers, kept Quill in his team, and since then Quill has become a cosmic thief. Star-Lord. One day he received a mission to find something called a cosmic sphere. Screen switching point on a desolate planet, a place that resembles an ancient temple. Point Star-Lord opened the door of the temple. Point in the middle of the shrine appeared an altar on which a bead was enshrined. Point he destroyed the altar with a strange device and took the bead into his hands. Then a group of people rushed in. Point seeing this group of people, Nick Fury was stunned. Are they Kree? Iron Man said, in the Chitauri database, I found their information. They seem to be one of the 3 major empires in the universe. They are going to grab this cosmic spirit ball. What is this? Star-Lord shook his head and said, I don't know either. It's just that there are buyers for me to find. The screen continues. Roland's subordinate asked, how do you know this? Star-Lord 133 panicked and said, I don't know, I'm just a scavenger. What's your name? Peter. Quill. Roland's subordinate said, pick up junk. I think your clothes are like spoilers. Take him away. Roland has questions to ask him. At this time, Star-Lord's eyes suddenly changed and became sharp. Or you have heard of my other name, Star-Lord. Roland's men were stunned. Who are you talking about? Star-Lord just praised the murderous intent and disappeared in an instant. Crossing Lord, the famous legendary villain. Haven't you heard of it? Roland shook his head and said, I haven't heard of it. Watching War Machine in this scene, Rhodes said seriously, so you are actually just a nobody. Star-Lord, in front of the screen, felt like he didn't fit in with War Machine. Listen, I'm a famous Star-Lord, a legendary space pirate, and a mere 2 or 3 Kree. I can easily handle it. Then, the style of painting in the picture suddenly changed. Point Star-Lord neatly dealt with Roland's subordinates and saw everyone was stunned. Point before, they really thought that Star-Lord was just a fool, but seeing his skills now, they felt very surprised. Point after that, everyone was suddenly surprised. If he was really that bad, would he have the courage to go with Thanos? Right then the narration sounded. Star-Lord does not know that the Cloud Universe Spirit Ball in his hand is the power gem in infinite gems. Upon hearing this, the audience exploded again. Chapter 219. Star-Lord just want to make money. New people don't understand. Why are these old audiences so excited? But there was no time to explain, and Doctor Strange asked, so, have you got the Power Stone now? Or the cosmic orb, Star-Lord said. I don't know what cosmic orb then. In the surprised eyes of everyone, a string of sparks appeared around Star-Lord, and those sparks turned into a circle. Doctor Strange walked straight out of it. This time, both new viewers and old viewers were stunned by Doctor Strange's hand. Captain Kirk said in shock, I've known for a long time that your magician portal is amazing. But God, you don't have to locate him. You don't even know where he is. Their phase teleportation is also very good, but it still makes sense. Magician's portal is simply unreasonable. Keisha shook her head and said, Magician's portal is simply too outrageous. Even more outrageous than the displacement of the universe. In an unknown place, you can open the portal directly. I don't even know how far it is. Morgana looked very envious. If she mastered this kind of technology, would she still have to worry about Keisha? What ultimate fear is there to worry about? Misaka Makoto was at a loss. So, this is a teleportation ability, teleported from Earth to aliens in an instant. She suddenly felt that the parallel universe was a little scary. Ancient One magician explained. For us, we only need to grasp the precise details of the destination, and the clearer the details are built in our minds, the more accurate and faster we can open the portal, and it is not as exaggerated as you think. The more the old saying magician is explained, the more outrageous people feel. This completely ignores the feeling of space. Dr. Manhattan said strangely, so, is it possible to travel through space in this way? Drive. Manhattan can also teleport, and it is not difficult for him to instantly go to an alien planet. In the comics, his way of moving is to move himself to the position he wants to go by moving the universe. It was not mentioned in the movie. According to the old rules, the characters in the movie should be worse than the comics, but it is also against the sky. However, the magician's transmission method is also incomprehensible to him. Why can you open the portal regardless of time and space when you know the destination? It's a pity it's not in the same universe, otherwise, or he can pass this ability. And even more outrageous is Star-Lord himself. Seeing Doctor Strange suddenly appear, he was startled. What do you want to do, Doctor Strange said sternly. The cosmic spirit ball is related to the safety of the entire universe, and there must be no loss. If you know it, tell me now, then I'll forgive you for waking up Thanos with a punch. Star-Lord looked bewildered. What are you talking about? When did I hit Thanos? Iron Man said, you are looking for the cosmic orb just to exchange money. I will pay, and you will sell me the news of the cosmic orb. This time, Star-Lord was no longer confused. He said excitedly, deal. I've heard the name of Stark Group. How much can you pay for this news? Iron Man said, 100 million. I only have USD, alien coins, and some, I don't know how much, alien coins found from Chitauri wreck. However, for Star-Lord, as long as it is money, anything is possible. Star-Lord said, just ahead, turn over 3 more heads. He also opened the map. Seeing Star-Lord pointing the way, Doctor Strange opened another portal. The two walked out of the portal and arrived in front of the temple. It's just that the door of the temple has been blasted open. The altar was also destroyed, and the cosmic spirit ball in it had long since disappeared. Everyone was surprised. Iron Man said to Star-Lord, if you think the money is not enough, I can add more. Star-Lord was so angry that he punched She-Man and said, it's here. It seems that, when we were talking, the Kree people took the lead. Doctor Strange looked at the ruins here and said, no, I've been looking at these traces for at least a few days. Guys, I think we might be in trouble. Do you remember when Loki said earlier that he met someone from the Time Authority? Those people were caught by Thanos. Since the people of the Time Administration know what the future should not be, they must know what the future should be. I suspect that Thanos already knew the news about the future and took the cosmic spirit ball away in advance. Doctor Strange's words were a huge blow to the Avengers. In fact, this time against Thanos, they have a lot of advantages. They are a lot more prepared. They know a lot about the future, but now it seems that Thanos also knows what the future holds. The advantage is not there. At this time, the captain of the country played his role. he said. At most, we have returned to the same starting line, and we will win. As expected of the captain, he can boost morale and inspire everyone at any time. Everyone is in a better mood. At this time, Misaka Makoto asked curiously, everyone, I don't know what infinite gems you are talking about, so. Black Widow explained the existence and ability of infinite gems, and even explained what Thanos wanted to do with infinite gems. This remark frightened several newcomers. Even Dr. Manhattan was horrified by the power of the infinite gems. After all, his current scope of activities is limited to the solar system at most, and the life he knows is limited to one Earth. Thanos wiped out half the life of the universe is too shocking. Misaka Makoto could only feel her heart beating wildly. Just kidding. I'm just an ordinary high school girl with super ability. Why should you let me know these things? I can't do anything. Star-Lord himself was even more frightened and broke into a cold sweat. Not because he missed the information fee of $100 million, but, goods AO, this horrible thing will fall into his own hands. And it will fall into the hands of Thanos in the future. Hearing Thanos' atrocities, even if he was just an interstellar thief, couldn't stand it. Star-Lord looked at Doctor Strange Arts and said, what should we do? Don't you know how to open the door in a circle? Or if you find that thing, let's open the door. Doctor Strange shook his head and said, didn't you hear the principle of the portal? I don't even know who took it. No, watch the video. The narration continued. Unfortunately, Star-Lord doesn't know that the cosmic sphere is infinite gems, nor does he know what infinite gems are. He just wants to pay. When he found a buyer, the buyer already knew that Roland was collecting this stuff, so he didn't dare to ask 4 points. So Star-Lord was going to find another buyer, but at this time he met a few good friends. The first best friend was Thanos' daughter, Gamora. Chapter 220 Star-Lord, Egg Pain 2 combo. On the screen Star-Lord was kicked out by his buyer, and Gamora leaned over and asked, what's wrong? Xingju said angrily, this guy doesn't say anything. I hate untrustworthy men the most. Then he turned to Gamora. His eyes were dull for a moment, and he said again, Peter Quill, known as Star-Lord. Gamora's eyes were meaningful. You look like a person who pays attention to credibility. Star-Lord was a little shy, and while throwing the cosmic spirit ball in his hand, he said, everyone says so, although, it is true. I say this as if 1PO is selling melons and boasting. Obviously, he thought Gamora had a crush on him. However, at this moment, Gamora grabbed the cosmic spirit ball that he had thrown in the air and then kicked him in the moment. The audience seemed to hear the sound of broken eggs. All male audience members, including Dr. Manhattan, were tight. This is a pain that only men can experience. Didn't he say that Gamora was his good friend? Do you have a good friend who kicks off when you meet like this? And the Star-Lord in front of the screen was even more cold, and he couldn't help covering it with his hand. This woman is the most dangerous woman in the universe. Gamora, legend, is a daughter of Thanos. It looks pretty. This guide says I'm Thanos' son-in-law. Am I going to be with Gamora? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. I would never like the last person who kicked me when they met. Screen switching. Star-Lord and Gamora chat on a balcony with a nebula in the background. Star-Lord said, do you know how expensive the fuel is here? We are going to lose money on this business. 137 The client asked me to wait, Gamora said. Star-Lord said, this is just a negotiation strategy, which is exactly my specialty, and you are good at fighting and killing. You should leave it to me. Gamora wiped his weapon and said, my father didn't teach negotiation tactics. Thanos. Gamora's eyes froze and she turned her head. Thanos was not my father. He invaded my hometown and killed my parents in front of me. He caught me, tortured me, trained me as a weapon in his hands. So, when I heard that he asked Roland to help him find the cosmic spirit ball, and when he helped Ronan destroy Xander, I decided to betray them. The audience was furious. Destroy a planet for the Power Stone. But it's not surprising to think that Thanos went to infinite gems to destroy half of life in the universe, but the anger value is higher. Star-Lord in front of the screen was stunned. Thanos wants to destroy Xander Star? How is it possible? There is a Nova Corps there. The Nova Corps can be regarded as one of the strongest legions in the universe. This is still in the movie. The Nova core of the comics is similar to the Green Lantern core of the DC universe, and it is stronger. Although he had a holiday with the Nova core, when he heard that Thanos was going to destroy this place, he couldn't help but want to take care of it. But what can you do yourself? Superman gritted his teeth. How can there be such a bad person? Once again, Superman can't hold back his anger. Professor X said, "Do you know about Stockholm Syndrome? Thanos is obviously good at psychology, and he uses that to control this girl. It's amazing that this girl can break free from Thanos' psychological bondage and resist Thanos. The girl probably died at the hands of Thanos otherwise. In the previous strategy, Star-Lord would not be madly hammering Thanos while asking him where Gamora was with this strategy. This girl should not die." The professor prays in his heart. On the screen point Gamora asked, "Why did you go back and find this?" After she finished speaking, she took down the old Walkman from Star-Lord's waist. Star-Lord said, "My mom gave it to me. She loves to share with me the pop songs she loved when she was young." Gamora curious said, "This should be how to deal with." Star-Lord said, "Do not handle, just listen. You can listen and dance." Gamora said, "I'm a warrior, assassin. I do not dance." Star-Lord said, "There is one word to describe such a person on Earth, you boring show. There is a song dedicated to teaching you this prudish people dancing." Gamora said, "What is prudish? What is men say?" "Oh, Star-Lord, I do not know how to explain it. It's just an adjective." Then put the headphones on the Kamala head. Gamora listened very happy. Melody very light. RC Gamora indulge in music. Star-Lord quietly pulled Gamora hand toward his mouth. Gamora Minato go. At this point, Gamora the knife had set in on his neck. "I know who you are, Peter Quail, Star Thief. I'm not the kind of young women you will be attracted by this nasty curse." Then a knee hit. Egg pain X2. Star-Lord in front of a screen face. Dap. Green lower body faint pain to do. Are not clamped file. The audience finally could not help but laugh. Previously depressed mood swept away. Professor X, including the face, and said, "I thought the last time to see Kirk approached, the failure is the most approached. I think there are more failures." Captain Kirk unhappy said, "I'm much stronger than him. I cannot let a knife against my neck." Star-Lord face to have been buried on the knees. The more he felt that this is indeed their own malicious website, or why these things always cut to make people laugh at themselves. The screen switches again. In a universe sky. Gamora floating in the sky. Her body has been covered with frost. The Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon was sitting. Too small flight reactor. Rocket Raccoon said, "She is dead." Thanos transformed her body. Her body than ordinary biological strong can hold for a while. "Brother, we could not save her." Go. The Star-Lord could not open his cockpit door, start the body of the propeller, flew toward Gamora. And their means of subsistence cut in the Gamora face. And he was exposed to the vacuum, freezing the body. Eyes congestion. At this moment the audience saw a significant accident, especially the Star-Lord himself. "I would to save a woman he die. How can this be? This is not me." Misaka Makoto said, "Mr. Quail, in fact, is a good man. Come forward. It really is Grand Theft Auto R. Iron Man is also very unexpected. I thought you were just a greedy B***********. D. You think we'll make such a noble act? Wonder Woman said, even if only because of the impact. Holstein * Mongolia. This behavior is also very admirable. Godzilla, shaking his big head, it's a little hairless. Not understand these insects are really doing. But its heart seems to give birth to a special feeling. I just feel these hairless bug much more interesting than they used to know. Dr. Manhattan said, this irrational human behavior often is the source of human happiness, is stupid. It is for humans, and very happy. It is the meaning of existence. Mo Megan finally said, so you're really not human. She is very interested in this blue guy. Just watching from the screen, but also the feeling of Dr. Manhattan unfathomable. And I hear this question. Dr. Manhattan, his face a hint of vacant look. If it is from a biological point of view, I would not mankind, but I did a few decades mankind. I want to own as humans. Unfortunately, I was getting away from humans, Keisha said. When in the form of life toward more high level in the direction of transition, it will produce this kind of problem. So we always retain their biological S***X, or just to finally become a cold machine. Nothing that you would first have disappeared. So-called life transitions, just another form of death. Nothing. Carl's body so the magic, she was so despised on ability to Dr. Manhattan or more bug point, but how to behave, do higher organisms aspects, Keisha experience than his rich too much. Chapter 221 The Galaxy Crosstalk 5. Maintain its own biological nature. This idea made Manhattan feel very interested. Just the conversation with Keisha made him feel that he benefited a lot. It seems that this lady named Keisha is also a very magical character. This made him look forward to this website strategy. At this time, the narration sounded, in addition to Gamora, after being thrown into prison by the Nova Corps, Star-Lord also met several other friends. There's Rocket Raccoon and Tree Groot. Screen switching. Star-Lord, Gamora, Rocket Raccoon and Tree Groot walk into the prison in their prison uniforms. An alien came over, put his hand on Crossing Lord's face and said, "The new product has arrived. I will smear your body with jam, and then blast you as much as you like." Before he could finish speaking, two things like twigs stuck into his nostrils and lifted him into the air. Then a raccoon that only reached the knee of a man and walked upright pointed at Star-Lord and said, "I've made it clear, this guy's our cash cow. One Sankey tree. If you want to touch a single hair on him, you have to get over us first." Small body, but exudes an unspeakable domineering, shocking a group of prisoners. The screen switches again. Rocket Raccoon said to Star-Lord and Gamora, "Don't worry, I have 22 prison escapes, and to get out of here, I need to enter that lookout. It only takes a few things to get into that lookout. The guard's epaulette controls the entry and exit doors. I need one. By the way, that guy over there, I also need his prosthetic leg. Also, do you see the flashing yellow light over there? There's a Quanai battery in the back, the one with the green wire on the back of the case." Just as they were discussing escape, Tree Groot, who had listened to their conversation, had already walked towards the box. Then, under the watchful eyes of the guards, the box was opened to remove the battery. And Rocket said, "Once the battery is removed, the prison immediately goes into emergency mode, so the battery must be taken at the end." At this moment, the entire prison suddenly went out of power, and the Star-Lord turned their heads and saw that the Tree Groot had removed the battery. He gave it to Rocket Raccoon like a gift. Rocket Raccoon covered his face and said desperately, "Or, we can act now." The narration sounded again. In addition to these two people, Star-Lord made and returned a friend, Drax the Destroyer. Roland killed his wife and daughter, so he hated Roland deeply, and he also hated Gamora, who worked for Roland before. Screen switching. Drax the Destroyer had already raised Gamora with his neck crossed. "Woman, your words mean nothing to me." Seeing that he was about to kill Gamora, and then Star-Lord walked in, Star-Lord said to Drax, "Wow, brother, it's not going to help you." Drax said unexpectedly, "Didn't this be ***ch want to kill you?" Star-Lord said, "There are a lot of girls who want to kill me." He lifted his clothes and showed the scars on his body. "This is a saboteur girl who hurts. She is upset, and I left without saying goodbye in the morning. Put a fork on me." This was swept by a Kree girl who caught me fooling around with an Asgard girl, and I just wanted to get information. Hear this: the girls who had a crush on Gamora, because Star-Lord saved Gamora, looked at him with contempt. It's Captain Kirk and Constantine, who feel like the same kind, and Star-Lord himself had covered his face and didn't look at it, and he felt the maliciousness of the website towards him more and more. Why am I telling people this? On the screen. Star-Lord continued, "Gamora has betrayed Roland, and Roland will want to kill him, so if you don't kill Gamora, Roland will come to her, and then you can." After speaking, Star-Lord drew a circle around his neck with his fingers. Drax said suspiciously, "Why would I put my finger on his neck?" Now, it was Star-Lord's turn to be stunned, and it took him a long time to react. "This is a metaphor. It means that you can cut his throat." "I'm not going to cut his throat. I'm going to chop off his head," Drax said. Star-Lord helplessly said to the prisoner on the side, "This is a metaphor. You understand the meaning, don't you?" The prisoner nodded. Then Star-Lord turned his head, looked at Drax and said patiently, "Everyone understands that this is a metaphor." The audience was dumbfounded. Star-Lord's friends, the more they looked at it, the more unreliable they became. Only Rocket Raccoon and Gamora look normal. Their team, they also got into trouble with Thanos. Why? This is really hard to figure out. The screen switches again. Star-Lord, Gamora, Rocket Raccoon, Drax the Destroyer, Groot the Tree. He broke into the observation room wearing a prison uniform. After throwing the personnel from the observation room, Gamora turned to look at the Destroyer. Drax said, "Don't look at me." Woman. Gamora asked, "Why is this person here?" Star-Lord said, "We promised to let him follow you before killing your boss. I have always had good credit, especially, the other party is still a crazy big guy who wants to kill me at any time." Then he took out a prosthetic leg and handed it to Rocket Raccoon. Rocket Raccoon smiled proudly. "The prosthetic leg is just a joke. I only need these two things, the arm and battery." And Star-Lord's face changed. "One diva." Rocket Raccoon said, "I think it's very humorous. Don't you think it's funny?" "What does that man do now when he walks? Is he walking by jumping?" Star-Lord looked in disbelief. "What? I also transferred 30,000 yuan to him." At this time, several robots outside began to frantically attack their observation room. Star-Lord looked at Rocket Raccoon and said to the crowd, "He said he has a plan. Is he talking nonsense again? I really have an escape plan." Rocket said. Drax said to Star-Lord, "Stop your complaints and take us out of this annoying place." Star-Lord said, "I agree, Mr. Bullshit. Hurry up." Drax said seriously, "Don't call me Mr. Bullshit. I'm not bullshit. It hurts." Star-Lord was completely speechless. "This is just a metaphor." Rocket Raccoon said, "While familiar with the controlled machinery, their people's heads are relatively simple, and it is impossible to understand this kind of thing going in from the left ear to the right ear." Destroyer Drax said, "Definitely, nothing can get into my ears. My reaction is very fast. I'll catch it." The tree Groot said, "I'm Groot." Gamora on the side looked desperate. "I will die with the most brainless people in the galaxy." At the beginning of these few pictures, the audience couldn't help laughing, and when they saw Gamora complaining, they finally couldn't help laughing. "These people are too unreliable. It is really 0.7. They haven't been so happy while watching the strategy for a long time." The last time I was so happy when I watched Raiders. I was watching the crosstalk duo of Mr. J and Mr. K. Now this is the crosstalk quintet. Seeing this, Iron Man, who wanted to join Xinju before, was completely stupid. 5 people so unreliable. I want to cooperate with this person to deal with Thanos. I'm afraid there is no brain problem. At this time, the narration sounded again. These 5 most unreliable people in the galaxy form the Guardians of Galaxy, and their first enemy is Ronan the Kree Accuser, having his own fleet and cooperating with Thanos. More importantly, he has grabbed the Power Stone and mastered the power of the Power Stone, and Guardians of Galaxy win. The audience couldn't help being shocked. These 5 guys actually beat Ronan, or the fleet, the powerful and jeweled Ronan. How can this be? How did they do it? Chapter 222, when the Star-Lord begins to dance. Star-Lord himself is also very disappointed. Thanos and Ronan, these 2 people are in the universe because of their names, and his partner is actually a fool, a raccoon and a tree, and a woman. How can I fight them? And I won. How could I possibly beat Ronan? Star-Lord wanted to break his head, and he couldn't understand how he brought this group of people to defeat Ronan, who had a fleet. The narration continued. Ronan used his universal warhammer to control the Power Stone, the power of which is beyond ordinary people's ability to drive. Screen switching. Guardians of Galaxy is at the collector is introducing them to the origin of infinite gems. The old audience saw that picture again. An armored giant with a height of several hundred meters, holding a scepter in his hand. The scepter is inlaid with powerful gems, exuding purple brilliance. Then the giant will scepter lightly on the ground. Countless people disappeared in an instant. The blue energy spread, and the entire planet instantly collapsed into slag. Many old viewers have seen this scene several times and still feel shocked. The new audience was directly frightened Although Black Widow had introduced the power of infinite gems before, after all, only 13 were talking about it. But now I can see it intuitively, and I can also feel the terrifying power of the upload. Even if it only reveals a little bit, it makes my feet go weak. Misaka Makoto's eyes widened, and she was speechless with such a light blow. A planet was destroyed. Who can resist such a force? God can't do it, can he? Parallel universes are horrible. Even Godzilla was terrified. Seeing this picture, it has already understood that the Earth under its feet is the destroyed planet on the picture. What kind of thing can destroy the Earth under its feet? It can't imagine. It made it feel terrified. Drive. Manhattan is silently analyzing what is the principle of this infinite gems. To do this, Star-Lord almost urinated on the screen. The red-skinned maid of Collector listened to Collector's introduction. She turned her head to look at a maid who was locked in the exhibition cabinet and looked almost exactly like her, and suddenly had infinite courage in her heart. She doesn't want to continue to live under Collector's silver power. And she doesn't want to be Collector's fish anymore. So she couldn't help but stretch out her hand to grab the power gem. But in the next moment, purple energy spread all over her body, turning her into fly ash. She proved with her own death that ordinary people simply cannot master such power. Queen Keisha sighed. It's a shame she's a girl of great courage. In your world, justice is needed. If Keisha finds out something like Collector in the supernatural universe, who treats human beings as collectibles, he will definitely not sit idly by. In Keisha's view, a universe without justice is too chaotic, too cruel to ordinary people and the weak. If one day I can travel through parallel universes, I must make the order of justice spread across all worlds. Screen switching has appeared on Xander Ronan's Necronomicon. Has already flown to the sky above, and numerous Ronan necromancers have fought alongside Nova Corps fighters. Even Star Legion's fighters formed a huge amount of defense net, which netted Roland's necromancer. Iron Man just looked dumbfounded. Is this a connection technology? How is this done? Batman, the same tech giant, shook his head. I don't know. It's hard to imagine what can directly connect the energy together like this. It's theoretically possible, but not necessary. Dr. Manhattan said, there is such a technology to connect a huge amount of energy network without connecting all the energy to form a more powerful energy weapon which directly penetrates the outer shell of the spacecraft. Keisha sighed. That's the cruelty of parallel universes. I have seen many civilizations, obviously possessing unimaginable technologies, but in one respect their shortcomings are huge. Just like the three-body world, even the dimensions can be controlled, but they cannot fly faster than the speed of light, so that all civilizations are limited to the speed of light. It is cruel to the extreme. On the screen. Already switched to Ronan's spaceship. Ronan held the Universal Warhammer in his hand, the power gem inlaid on the Universal Warhammer. He looked at the defense network formed by the Nova Corps and said, Xander, that sad peace agreement can't save you. Then he waved the all-purpose Warhammer in his hand, and when it reached the purple light, it blasted out. The next moment, the Xandiston Nova Corps, the thousands of fighter jets, turned into fly ash in an instant. Everyone opened their mouths. The shock that the scene brought to the crowd was comparable to that of the Trisolarans destroying more than 2,000 human warships with water droplets. Ronan, who has the power gem in his hand, is not of the same order of magnitude as the others. By this time the Guardians of Galaxy had broken into Ronan's control room. Star-Lord took a strange gun and slammed Ronan, hitting him in the chest. But Ronan was fine. Star-Lord in front of the video was stunned. How is this possible? This is a Hadron submachine gun. Iron Man asked, what is a Hadron submachine gun? Is it a Hadron weapon? Star-Lord said, it's a super weapon full of hadrons. Hadron weapon. Star-Lord actually has such a weapon. Everyone on the tech side was taken aback. Iron Man is numb. Hadrons are composite particles of quarks and antiquarks anchored together by the strong interaction force. Compared with hadron weapons, the power of black weapons is negligible. The black weapon just applies the mass energy of the atomic depleted part, E equals mc2. The hadron weapon simulates a cosmic explosion, allowing hadrons to collide at close range and release all mass energy. Is E equals mc2. plus the positron and negative electron annihilation energy point. A black weapon compared with a hadron weapon is like a drop of water to the sea, and a hair to 9 bulls. Roland can actually fight hard. This body may not be weaker than Thor and Thanos, regardless of whether Ronan is so strong, because he has mastered the power gem. It can be said that he is a monster. The more the audience watched 137, the more desperate. How could Star-Lord win? Then the ship fell. Countless branches grew on the tree Groot, protecting everyone among them, and in the end he protected everyone with his body, and turned into a pile of broken branches. The audience looked a little sad. They couldn't think of this, the most unreliable tree person in Guardians of Galaxy. No one even understood him except Rocket Raccoon, and he actually sacrificed his life to save everyone a day. Critical moment. Or, this Guardians of Galaxy meeting may not be as unreliable as everyone previously thought. The screen switches again. Ronan has stepped out of his spaceship. Rocket growled, "You killed Groot." He rushed towards Roland and was knocked down by a blow. Ronan pointed at the Star-Lord and his party to a group of terrified Xander people and said, "Are you relying on this group of trash to protect your Xander? My grandfather's revenge. My father's revenge can finally be avenged. Xander, you should be honored." Ronan frantically raised the omnipotent warhammer inlaid with the power gem in his hand, delivered his speech, and was about to smash the omnipotent warhammer to the ground. As long as he smashes it down, the planet is doomed. And at this moment, Star-Lord actually stood in front of him and began to twist his body. And he actually began to sing and dance. Things will get better. Everything will be clear at this moment. Both everyone on the screen and all the audience in front of the screen were dumbfounded. We were wrong. This guy's really unreliable. Chapter 223. I'm destroying the world. Can you be serious? Captain, the United States couldn't help it. Quill, what are you doing at the moment with the enemy? Thor said. He may be scared and stupid. After all, Ronan can withstand hadron weapons. It is a bit reluctant to ask him to be Roland's opponent. If it were me, a hammer could knock Ronan to death. How could such a person even use a hammer? Professor X also said, sometimes people will do some incomprehensible behaviors under extreme fear, and Constantine laughed. I bet with a pack of cigarettes. I don't know why he did it, but this kid must be lying. As a master of deception, he could see at a glance that Star-Lord's actions must be intentional. Everyone continued to look at the screen suspiciously. And Star-Lord himself almost buried his face in the ground. This is so embarrassing. What exactly happened here? What exactly am I doing? Am I crazy? This broken website is sure to kill our company to the end, right? If I ever find out who's behind this site, I'm going to hit him with a hadron weapon. On the screen. Star-Lord danced more and more vigorously, singing more and more tone deaf, and dancing more and more awkwardly. Xander and Gamora on the side stared at him, dumbfounded. Ronan was completely stunned. What are you doing, Star-Lord said. Dawu, me and you. After saying that, Gamora stretched out his hand. Come Gamora, let's dance together. Gamora took 2 steps back in disgust. At this moment, she felt that it was the stupidest decision to act with Star-Lord. Xinju didn't take it seriously. It's euphemistic enough. Then I'll come alone. Then he started to dance harder. Ronan has encountered countless enemies in his life, and he has seen many enemies who collapsed because of fear, but it was the first time he saw a person who collapsed because of fear and then danced. He couldn't accept it at all. He had been fighting this kind of fool before. He couldn't help it. What the hell are you doing? I'm about to destroy the world. Can you be serious? The apocalyptic atmosphere I just created is completely gone because of you. At this moment, Star-Lord stopped and said, divert your attention, idiot. Ronan was startled and just turned his head to see that Rocket Raccoon had repaired the hadron submachine gun, and Drax shot him directly. But this time it was not on him, but on his universal warhammer. It may be because the power of infinite gems is too strong, making the universal warhammer that carries infinite gems weak. Roland's original powerful all-purpose warhammer was directly shattered by this shot. The Star-Lord, who had been prepared for a long time, flew over holding the power gem in his hand, and the purple energy spread on the Star-Lord. His body was collapsing rapidly, but the power gem that shattered the Collector Maid's body in an instant failed to kill Star-Lord in an instant. He persisted for a long time. At this time Gamora, Drax and Rocket Raccoon walked over, holding hands together, using their bodies to help carry the energy of the Power Stone. Ronan couldn't watch this scene confidently. "You are just mortals. How is it possible?" Star-Lord said. "You said we are the Guardians of Galaxy." The next moment, the brilliance of the power gem directly hit Ronan, and he turned into the dust of the universe. Star-Lord actually controls the energy of the power gem with his hands. You must know that the super huge amounts of giants used to control the power of gems. Ronan also used the universal warhammer. The audience was dumbfounded. They have seen too many thrilling battles, but this is the first time they have seen this battle scene, and they can be sure and definitely the last time. They can't describe how they feel. Star-Lord actually won in this way. What the hell is this called? Should I laugh, or what should I do? The audience was completely stunned, and for a while, they didn't know what expression to use to face it. War Machine Rhodes once again couldn't help but complain. "So you did a good job of saving the world with the awkward dance, but I think everyone can laugh now." His cold joke finally resonated this time, and the audience laughed again. Magneto finally came back to his senses, shook his head and said, "It's outrageous that only 4 of them can carry the power that can destroy the entire planet." Judging from their previous performances, although Star-Lord and the others have powers that surpass ordinary people, they are still far from the power gems. And Ronan. Log said, "You forgot, he is a demigod body, and his father is a god, so it shouldn't be surprising that he can carry such power, even if he can perfectly control the power gem. I don't find it strange." At this time, the narration sounded, because Star-Lord has the bloodline power of the god Yago, he was able to control the power of the power gem. 4. Ronan, the first enemy Star-Lord encountered. If Star-Lord can get the power gem before Ronan, he can use the power of the power gem to destroy Ronan. Believe in yourself, Star-Lord. You can withstand such power. It would be more troublesome if Ronan got the infinite gems first, because if it weren't for him, like Loki, who loves to show off in front of others, and love to flaunt in front of enemies, instead, just like Thanos, he directly teleported himself to the surface of Cinder Star, and only needs one blow to destroy the entire Dalshan Star, and then destroy any planet he wants to destroy. So, the strategy for this situation is to anger Roland and let him come to you first. Roland attaches great importance to his family's glory. If you insult his family, he will definitely kill you first. You can actually carry the power of the Power Stone, so if he comes to you, you can compete with him for control of the Power Stone. Definitely. Meet Ronan, who has already mastered the Power Gem. He is not stupid. You have little chance of winning. Winning with an awkward dance is a super low probability event, not a foolproof strategy. It's just a helpless move in a desperate situation. It's not enough to rely on you alone, so you need to find foreign aid. Avengers is definitely willing to help you, but it's too far away. I'm afraid there won't be enough time. There is one person who is definitely willing and has the ability to help you, and that is Captain Marvel Carol Danvers. She is so powerful that she can even take on Thanos one-on-one. She has been fighting against the Kree Empire and is more keen to mediate cosmic disputes. She is in the universe. You can try to call her on the public channel Raw. As long as you find her and explain Ronan's intentions, she will definitely be willing to help you and save Xander. This matter will definitely be handled with both hands. You can also contact the Avengers at the same time. If you can catch up, it will definitely be the best score. However, even if you defeat Ronan and grab the Power Stone, it is very dangerous, because if you give it to Xander, Thanos will destroy Xander. Everyone's heart sank again. Yes, even if Ronan was dealt with, there would still be Thanos. Thanos is everyone's confidant. Chapter 224 turned the whole universe into my duplication. The United States captain weighed in his heart, made a quick decision, then took a deep breath and said, "Everyone, maybe we are going to have an early encounter with Thanos." Everyone was surprised. Captain the United States continued, "If Thanos gets the Power Stone and is going to destroy Xander. Do we just sit and watch him destroy a planet? And now neither he nor we have collected enough infinite gems, and we both probably know the future, then he definitely can't guess. We will shoot him at this time. We hit him in an ambush, and by surprise, the odds of winning will be high. The hearts of the Avengers began to pound. Start the war ahead of time. Duel with Thanos ahead of time. The idea is, to be honest, very tempting. But at this point Batman said, I admit that tactically, you were right, but not necessarily strategically. Every time you read a guide, you will add some friends, and you will also get some rewards, some helpful guides. So, every time you watch a video, you will be stronger. Even Thanos sees the future, but the advantage of time is still on your side. It's definitely not a good idea to fight Thanos in advance. Besides, it's not necessarily true that Thanos will destroy Xander, although we have limited information from the current intelligence of 137. Thanos may have obtained information about the future from the Time Administration, and thus obtained the power gem in advance. Originally, Thanos promised Ronan that as long as Ronan helped him find the power gem, he would help Roland destroy Xander. Now that he has obtained the power gem himself, he probably won't help Ronan. So, Xander Star, what we have to face is only Ronan. Ronan, without infinite gems, may not win against Shang-Chi and All-Star. As long as Xander Star is notified in advance, it should be enough to face Ronan without infinite gems. You must know that the battle against Thanos affects the lives of half of the creatures in the entire universe, so be cautious. The 10th level wisdom. Batman not only has improved tactical ability, but also has a broader strategic vision than before. When he said this, everyone felt that Thanos was unlikely to attack Xander, and he's right. Time is on the Avengers' side. Doctor Strange said. That's it. Now Star-Lord and I will go to Xander to remind the Nova Corps. If Xander really encounters Thanos raid, I will ask you to bring it here, so Xander is our natural ally, and I don't have to face Thanos alone. Doctor Strange is no dumber than anyone when it comes to using his brain. His statement got everyone's approval. The narration continues, except for Avengers and Captain Marvel. When facing Ronan and me, Star-Lord can also use the power of another person, his father Egg. Hearing this, Star-Lord's expression changed instantly. Although he hates his godfather, he is still very reluctant to involve Egg in the battle between Ronan and Thanos. The narrator continued, Egg Oju attaches great importance to Crossing Lord, because Crossing Lord is the only one who has inherited his celestial gene among his many children, the only one who can help him with his plans. After Star-Lord defeated Ronan, they became like cosmic mercenaries. One time, they helped Suailin protect their new energy battery, defeating a monster devour energy. Screen switching. Star-Lord and his party saw a magnificent hall, the big store. Suailin, who also cast as the Gold General. Queen Suailin said, Guardians of Galaxy, thank you for helping us. We cannot let Suailin people life is threatened. Each of them are products of precision engineered. We control the genetic material of future generations, while nurturing offspring in artificial leather, whether spiritual or physical, are perfect. Star-Lord said, about making asterisk, I still prefer to use traditional methods a little. The Queen smiled and said, maybe someday you can be on a history lesson on the old tradition of our ancestors. Learn how to make asterisk man. Captain Kirk heard this directly whistled. Queen actually direct and Star-Lord Shiro asterisk love are. Although the Queen's skin is golden, but Captain Kirk may not mind. After all, the Queen yen value is high, and he is willing to practice what the Queen how to make asterisk people with age-old traditional methods. Screen Star-Lord said, I'm very happy, and you do academic exchanges. But when he saw Gamora next one. And then Stern said, however, I'm not the kind of casual people Gamora could not. For the Queen said, we say that this action is that we paid. The Queen would not mind. Sualinranly, when you charge a person out, it is Gamora's sister Nebula. Narration sounded, so Guardians of Galaxy soldier more than one person. Definitely Nebula, and they are still tough running. They took away the reward, but Rocket Raccoon, before leaving, stole Suailin helped people to guard their precious energy. Steel. Anger. Suailin began to kill them. Star-Lord helped turn too far, said loudly, Shed, this raccoon is really pit goods. I used to pit earlier. Artificial leg enchant of 30,000 yuan of no use. I know my reward was 40,000 yuan. Point now we are also attracted to kill Suai Lin. Points do not know. These batteries cannot be worth a loss. Misaka Makoto actually very sharp eyes. She said, you see that little guy yet smaller than Rocket Raccoon, much like the tree people, is the tree people's ulterior motives to resprout and grow up. Everyone also saw little Groot. Gals have no way to resist such a small meng things. It's so cute. Fold. Under the branches can grow. I would like to raise her in the humming female compatriots. The screen switches a person actually standing on the spacecraft. Only one hit to destroy hundreds of ships when he saw an inhuman spacecraft. Point narrator continued. After the defeat, Suai Lin, who is the Star-Lord's father, Andre, helped Star-Lord. He invited Star-Lord went to his planet. Point and here they encountered Mantis' sister. Andre problems have insomnia. Mantis' sister has a strong spiritual force that can help Igor. Sleeping Point Galaxy Convoy. Both would add a member. In this guide, Li Yijin energy. Star-Lord's body belongs to God. He also revealed his true plans. In the endless years, countless planets he planted his duplication. He can let his duplication occupation of every star. Every planet would have become his duplication until all the planets of the universe have become his duplication. Then the whole universe will be only one person, Igor. Hear the plan. All the audience's brain once again felt the intense bombing. These people, one by one. What are you thinking? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 225, Raiders of Star-Lord. After becoming the current form, Dr. Manhattan has rarely had any emotions similar to surprise and shock. Point after all, in his world, he can predict almost everything, and no matter what others do, it is almost impossible to affect it. But this parallel universe first had Thanos, who attempted to use the Infinity Gauntlet to destroy half of the lives of the universe. Point after that, there is a God Egg, who intends to devour all planets with his own duplication. Point these plans, one is more crazy, one is more shocking. Drive. Manhattan murmured, is this what the high life will eventually become? Endless expansion, endless reproduction. What is the difference between this and a virus? The so-called biological, or not necessarily a good thing. If he became like this, he couldn't accept it. Point he still has humanity left. Point X. He took a long sigh. I used to think that the male angel was cruel, and he was the scum of the universe, but compared with these characters, they are as kind as little white rabbits. Zabing opened his mouth and couldn't close his mouth. This is so crazy. This kind of behavior of his reminds me of mana ecology. Mana ecology is such a devouring everything plant. Luo. G couldn't help sighing and said, survival is really a difficult thing, and you need to do your best. It's the same in every universe. Optimus Prime had already read the complete works of Cybertron history. He shook his head and said, sure enough, these lunatics seem to have similar ideas. In the era when shape-shifting King Khan was ruled by Kuntisha, Kuntisha madly spread mechanical seeds in the universe to transform organic creatures into mechanical life, and fallen King Khan madly extracted all fixed star energy in the universe. Ego did this just to make himself stronger by multiplying. So why is he stronger? He doesn't seem to have thought about why he expanded so much and became so crazy. These behaviors of these lunatics seem to be crazy and disorderly expansion. This kind of behavior is really no different from a virus in the universe. Constantine finally couldn't help lighting another cigarette. These people are crazier than Satan. Point and the person who was most shocked was Star-Lord himself. Point he used to think that his father was an irresponsible scumbag, but now he knows that he is a lunatic who intends to replace the universe and devour all the universe. Point way. At this time he felt an indescribable loneliness and absurdity. Point screen switching. Point Star-Lord was immersed in the plan that Egg told him. Awakening the power of the gods, he could understand Egg's thinking. Point he felt that the greatness and grandeur of this plan shocked him. Point Egg said to the shocked Star-Lord, I only have one problem with my plan, that It's, the power of one god is limited, but the power of two gods is enough. He got carried away. The greatest thing in my plan is to combine my genes with another race. I hope the combined results will advance my plan. I once asked Yondu to send me some of my children, and I tried to activate their celestial genes. However, each one disappointed me. None of them could awakening the celestial gene, and they all failed. But I can guarantee that even if they fail, they will die without pain. And until you show up. Quill. One word shocked everyone again. Misaka Makoto said, what is he talking about? What is he talking about? He's saying that he killed so many of his children in order to activate these god genes. Tell me I misunderstood. Black Widow took a long sigh and said, little sister, you are not mistaken. That's what he meant. Anything is possible for these crazy people, but we'll stop him. Superman said, it's the same in our world. I won't let these lunatics endanger the safety of the entire universe. The good Superman, I don't know how many times, has been enraged by these evil plans. Loki said to the Avengers, what are you doing to stop it? Do you know how many duplications he has planted on how many planets? He killed hundreds of sovereign ships in a single blow. What if he unleashed his full power? What are you fighting against? Are they using your time gem and space gem? He only needs to activate the duplication on Earth, and he can make your duplication boring. Iron Man said coldly. Loki, what are you talking about now? Loki's figure changed in an instant. He became Star-Lord. He smiled. My illusion has reached the point where I can deceive Thanos. I can definitely deceive him. I will find him, deceive he, go, and take his power to create the power of the world. If I can get it, then my illusions will no longer be illusions, and what I will create will be the real world. Thor was furious. Are you crazy? You were just at Thanos' place and nearly died. It's just a brain planet. Watch me kill him with a hammer. Give it to me, and I'll kill him. While they were noisy, the picture continued. Egg in the picture continued. For the first time in my life, I'm really not alone. At this time, Star-Lord said in a low voice. Then my friend's Egg said, have those friends of yours been doing you a disservice? Have they been making trouble for you? Are they? 4 flowers. Yes. Egg said, are we supreme? Yes. It's their honor to devour them, to make them one with you, to be supreme with you, isn't it? Star-Lord had some hesitation, but still said, yes. It was nice to watch Star-Lord be convinced by himself to Egg. At this moment, Star-Lord suddenly asked the question that hit the soul. What about my mother? You said you loved my mother. Egg said sadly, yes, I said it, my little Lily. I remember every day I spent with her. I remember the lyrics to every song on the radio that she liked, and I went back to Earth to see her 3 times. I knew that if I went back for a 4th time, I would never leave that place again. Then my plan to expand territory will also be suspended, and the meaning of my life will be shattered. 0. So I'm sad that I have to leave, but the saddest thing is that I put the tumor in her head to avoid me wanting to come back. Hearing this, the audience was completely blown away. Everything Egg does pushes past their bottom line. I haven't been so angry in a long time, and if I got to that world, I'd kill him. Dr. Manhattan said. Killed Egg. You are crazy. The audience looked at Dr. Manhattan and wondered how he had the guts to say such a thing. Star-Lord was surprisingly quiet. His eyes were already red, and an unspeakable killing intent spread within his body. The narration sounded again. Ego is such a scum, or rather, god scum. 4. His plan. He will never let go of the power of the gods that Star-Lord possesses. So, if he knew that Thanos would kill Star-Lord and make the only 2 gods disappear, he would definitely not agree, and he would fight with Thanos desperately, inducing Thanos to fight with Egg and reap the benefits of a fisherman. This is the second strategy I gave Star-Lord. When everyone heard it, they all felt that this plan was reliable. The Star-Lord in front of the screen seemed to have finally recovered. He gritted his teeth and said, what Manhattan? Loki, get away from me. It's not your turn to kill him, so I won't do this kind of bullshit strategy. I will kill him with my own hands. I will destroy every duplication of his. crush every planet of his into slag, and destroy his plans. I will let him die in excruciating pain. I want to make him regret living in this world every second. Before he dies, Star-Lord's tone became more and more icy, and arcs flashed on his body suddenly. His celestial power seems to be in Awakening 7 chapter 226, the whereabouts of Soul Gem. Power awakening. Star-Lord's face showed a look of disgust. I don't want this kind of power at all. 4. Star-Lord. His mother was his only inverse scale, a place he couldn't touch in his heart. What Egg did arouse the most violent emotions in his heart. Doctor Strange was also frightened and felt that he might lose control at any time. The narration continued. Star-Lord should be very sad when he hears this news. However, you're not alone. Screen switching point appeared again on the ruins of Zindastar, the time period when Star-Lord had just defeated Ronan. Yondu led someone to threaten Star-Lord to ask him to hand over the Cosmic Ball. Star-Lord reluctantly handed over the Cosmic Spirit Ball. When Yondu returned to his spaceship, opened the Cosmic Spirit Ball, and saw the doll in the transferred Cosmic Spirit Ball, a kind smile appeared on his extremely ferocious face. Then the screen switches again. Also on top of a rubble. And Star-Lord is fighting Egg. Egg said, destroy this place, kill me, and your power will also be lost. 140. Star-Lord said, I don't want this kind of power at all. The two fought so hard that they fully demonstrated the strength of the gods. Rocket Raccoon said to Yondu, Yondu, this place is about to explode. Yondu said, go back to the spaceship quickly. Rocket said, don't leave it, Quill. Yondu said, you have to take care of that little sapling. Rocket Raccoon said sadly, I can't leave you alone. Yondu said, I have never done anything good in my life. Little mouse, you have to give me a chance. Rocket Raccoon took out 2 boxes and said, I only have the same spacesuit and flight device. Then little Groot said, I'm Groot. Yondu asked, what do you mean? Rocket Raccoon smiled. He said, welcome to the Guardians of the Galaxy. Screen switching point. That Egg's body planet has become a complete ruin, and countless fires rushed out from it. A scene of the end of the world. In that apocalyptic scene, Yondu flew into the sky with Star-Lord in his arms. He put the only spacesuit on Star-Lord and said, he may be your father, but I'm your father. Seeing this scene, Xingju's eyes, who were about to lose control in front of the screen, regained clarity. He felt a sharp pain in his nose. He knew that, although Yondu said that at the time he left him, because his body was small and suitable for stealing. In fact, Yondu really took care of him. No matter what mistakes he made, he would find reasons to forgive him, and find a way for him to go down. He really sees Yondu as a father, but he never thought that Yondu would be willing to give up his life for him. He really regarded himself as a son. I'm not alone. I have a family. Yondu and Guardians of Galaxy family, I will definitely find you. And seeing this scene, no one despised Guardians of Galaxy anymore, although their members are very brainless, but there is love between them, and they killed the god Egg in order to kill Egg. Even Star-Lord gave up his power. This is an unimaginable feat. Then the narration sounded again. The conflict between Star-Lord and Thanos is irreconcilable, even without the Power Stone, because Gamora knows the whereabouts of Soul Gem and Infinite Gems. Thanos is destined to not let Gamora go. Screen switching to a barren planet. Red Skull took Gamora and Thanos to the valley, and they looked at the altar below. The United States captain was stunned. Red Skull, what's the situation? Why is Red Skull here with Thanos, founder of Red Skull Hydra? Everyone was so surprised. Iron Man said, the universe is in chaos. It's really all the monsters and monsters running out. On the screen. Gamora asked, what is this? Red Skull said, the Soul Gem is revered among infinite gems because of its unique wisdom. In order to ensure that the owner understands his power, the Soul Gem needs your sacrifice. Thanos said, what does it want? Red Skull said, he needs to sacrifice your loved ones for soul. Hearing this, Gamora laughed, her face full of sarcasm. I've been dreaming all my life that one day I will watch you suffer the consequences. I haven't been able to get my wish until now. You kill innocent people indiscriminately, and you call it compassion. This is the punishment the universe has given you. You have spent your whole life searching for it, and in the end you have found nothing. You've failed miserably, because you've never loved anything, you've never loved anyone. You'll never get a soul gem. Thanos turned his head, his eyes were infinitely sad, and there were tears in his eyes. Everyone was shocked at this moment. They have seen more than the cruel and ruthless side of Thanos, but they did not expect that Thanos would actually cry. Gamora laughed. You're crying without the soul gem. Red Skull said. He wasn't crying for himself. At that moment, Gamora was struck by lightning, and she finally realized that Thanos loved her. Does Thanos really think of himself as his daughter? How can this be? The next moment, Gamora was thrown off the altar. The narration repeats. Thanos is really taking Gamora as his daughter. He trains Gamora like crazy, gives her cruel trials, and that's his unique way of expressing love. So, the last strategy for Star-Lord is to protect Gamora, and we must not let Thanos take Gamora away, because without Gamora, Thanos would never get the soul gem. Can't get 6 infinite gems together. No matter how powerful he is, he can't erase half of the life in the universe. The strategy ends here. The audience was silent. They had a hard time believing that someone like Thanos could have feelings. How could someone with emotion do such a thing? After a while, Black Widow said, it's unbelievable that Thanos really regarded Gamora as his daughter, but he still traded her life for soul gem. This is the most terrifying thing, and it shows that he sacrificed everything in order to achieve his goals. Such an incomparably powerful person with firm goals and executive power is indeed the most difficult opponent to deal with. Star-Lord said, I will kill Egg. I will protect Gamora. I will never let Thanos take her. Absolutely. At this time, the website's question came up. How many times has Star-Lord been kicked by Gamora? Once, twice, 2, 3 times, 3 or 4 times, 4, 5 times. Hearing this question, Star-Lord's previously depressed mood was swept away, and he was extremely angry. I'm not finished with you on this spam site. He didn't want to answer this question at all. The audience was also swept away from the previous depression. They just wanted to laugh. At the same time, Thanos was already standing on that desolate planet, and in front of Red Skull, a man cried and threw his wife down the valley. Then the man got the soul gem. At this time, Thanos appeared. He took the soul gem and said with a smile, nice job. The man gritted his teeth and said, you said, if you get this for you, you will spare my clan. Thanos said lightly, I will let them go. But just now, the man was furious. You broke the contract. He rushed towards Thanos frantically, but was pinched to death by Thanos. After accidentally learning the intelligence of the Time Administration, Thanos broke the Time Administration and saw everything about him. He also cracked the equipment of the Time Administration and created his own time equipment. Before he brought Gamora from another timeline. After killing that Gamora, he was still heartbroken, but Soul Gem did not appear. Soul Gem will not be fooled, saying that it is your beloved, that is, the beloved. Almost not. So, he thought of another way to change someone to sacrifice, and when that person gets the soul gem, he can just grab it by himself. Thanos embedded the soul gem on the Infinity Gauntlet and murmured, come on, I'm almost done. Although he had time equipment, he did not try to go back to the past through time equipment and kill those who hindered his Avengers in advance, because he knew that it would only give birth to a new timeline. In this timeline, he has to go head to head with the Avengers now. Power Gem, Mind Gem, Soul Gem, Infinite Gems already has 3 of them. It is not far from fulfilling his destiny. The universe will return to balance and be perfect. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.